Hi, everybody. It's episode 332 of PodQuest.
Hey!
It's Wednesday, December 31st, 2020. I am Chris. With me is Walnut.
Just got one more day, guys. You got it. Just one more day.
And Druten.
Hello.
And let's just roll that back for a second. Don't talk like that, because we don't know what 2021 is going to be.
I'm just saying, you got one more day for 2020. I'm like, what happens after that is all on you.
What if 2020 is the bright spot of the decade? What if in 10 years we're looking back and be like, hey guys, remember 2020? That sure wasn't that bad, was it?
If 2020 is the bright spot of the decade, we are not seeing 2029.
No. We're not seeing 2025.
I mean, yes, that is actually probably valid.
If there's just a pandemic every 2 years from here on out, I'm done. Nope, can't do it.
I mean, it's just going to be one big pandemic at that point.
Well, there's, I don't remember the name of the movie. There is
The
a
Hunger
movie.
Games.
No. I'm gonna look it up. I feel like it might be called, like, Birdsong or something. Yeah. I believe it's Birdsong. It is a movie about, like, living in post-pandemic, which was supposed to release recently, and, like, during it goes through, like, COVID-27 or something like that.
Nice.
I think it's, yeah. Songbird, not Birdsong. Songbird.
Well, I mean, that's like, what are those really shitty third-person shooters that people don't really like? The squad-based one?
Gears of War?
No, people like those. It's a Ubisoft game, I think.
I don't know.
Like Wildlands was the last one.
Ghost Recon.
Ghost Recon,
Those.
yeah.
Isn't the upcoming Ghost Recon, isn't that still called Quarantine?
That's Rainbow Six.
Rainbow Six. Also a squad game that people don't love anymore.
I mean, Siege is really,
Oh, that's
really
right.
popular.
Siege was a Rainbow Six. I was thinking Siege was its own thing. I forgot that was a Rainbow Six game.
I mean, honestly, the last 3 Rainbow Six games have been fairly popular.
Yeah.
Have they?
Yeah.
What came before Siege?
Vegas 1 and 2.
I don't remember them at all.
Because they're like early PS360 games.
Oh, they're that old.
Oh, yeah. There was a long gap between Rainbow Six Vegas and
Siege. Because Siege was like a, let's call it a quote-unquote late launch title for last gen, was it?
I think
Wasn't it like a 2014, 2015?
It might even be 15, probably's right. It could be even later than that.
I feel like it was 2014. Oh, December 1st, 2015.
Okay, so that would explain why I felt it was later than that, because it barely made 2015.
Yeah, it was the tail end.
But then also, like, alright, I'll say Siege didn't get off to a great start, but like a lot of Ubisoft games in recent years they've just built on to it, and it's way more popular now than it was when it launched.
Yeah, people like it a whole lot now. I remember when it launched, it was one of those, it's like, oh, this is a game. That's about the best we can say about it. It is a game. It is not functionally broken.
Yeah.
But like I remember back in like the late 90s, early 2000s when like the Rainbow Six games were like it. Like they were the best of the best. And then they did kind of just taper off.
Yeah, they were basically like the cream of the crop of first-person shooters and junk, and then
at least on the console.
And then Call of Duty became like the big thing.
I mean, I feel like Call of Duty didn't really become the big thing until the late 2000s. Probably around the time that Vegas was coming out.
Yeah. I mean, well, I don't know. I mean,
I remember hearing more about Rainbow Six pre-Modern Warfare, and then once Modern Warfare, nothing but Call of Duty. And yes, there were still the releases and developments of other additional ones, but I heard more people talk about Call of Duty and less about Rainbow Six.
Yeah, because you think so. I just looked it up. So Modern Warfare, that was 07. Everyone knows that was an 07 game.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like that is when Call of Duty became Call of Duty.
Yeah. Because
like nobody talks about Call of Duty 1, 2, or 3 or any of like the interstitials. Unless you're just saying like those games existed. It was called like Modern Warfare is where that series became what it is, and it came out between Vegas 1 and Vegas 2.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Vegas was released in 2006, and Vegas 2 was 2008. So
yeah.
That's probably why it kind of like fell off, because I want to say 2008 was also Modern Warfare 2, if I remember correctly.
Probably.
So
no,
I know
Modern Warfare 2 would have been 2009, because Treyarch were the only ones doing Modern Warfare, and they were every other year, so it would 07.
Infinity Ward.
And then Treyarch did, I think it was
World at War.
World at War, and then the next year was Modern Warfare 2, and then Black Ops, then Modern Warfare. It was every other year Trinity Ward did.
Way to combine their names.
Yeah,
you are not. You're not keeping up with the Black Ops or the. Sorry, I'm reading Black Ops, the Call of Duty games.
When you now have 3 fucking teams making Call of Duty games, it's gonna get muddied up.
So there's actually 4.
Yeah.
Because Raven also works on them now, too. Not on their own games, though. So you have Infinity Ward, Treyarch, Sledgehammer, and Raven Software.
Yeah, but back then it was just Infinity Ward and Treyarch.
Yeah, because it was... So Infinity Ward did 1, 2, Treyarch did 3, Infinity Ward and then Infinity Ward did Modern Warfare, Raven Software did and then Treyarch did World at War. So it was... No, they were... Yeah, so it was 2007 was Infinity War. And then Treyarch, and then Infinity Ward again, and it was Modern Warfare, World at War, Modern Warfare 2.
Yeah, 7, 8, and 9.
Yeah, so I believe you said that you thought Modern Warfare 2 was 09, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so you were right.
Yeah. So real quick, back to Songbird. The first paragraph in the wiki plot. By 2024, the COVID-19 virus has mutated into COVID-23, and the world is in its 4th pandemic year. In the United States, people are required to take temperature checks on their cell phones, while those infected with the COVID-23 are taken from their homes against their will and forced into quarantine camps, also known as Q-zones, or concentration camps, where some fight back against the brutal restrictions. In these camps, the infected are left to die or forced. When I saw the trailer for this, I was like, fuck this movie. And apparently...
Yeah, that's quite a way to go.
Yeah, and it, it, in my opinion, enforces, the anger for people who hate the restrictions that the government have been putting to stop the spread, as well as pushes the it's too negative in a time that in a time like this. It's too negative about something too topical. And the movie started filming as of March 20, not started filming, but production started in March 2020. So it started filming in July. So it's it's a quick turnaround. Apparently people hate it. It's only got a 10% approval rating on Rotten Tomatoes.
That sounds about right. Let's be honest.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's when this show goes up, it'll be New Year's Eve. Cause I definitely put the wrong date on the doc.
Mm-hmm.
I'm trying to make the year end a little quicker. It's Wednesday, December 30th, in case I said 31st at the top of the show. But yeah, it's gonna be New Year's Eve tomorrow. Are you guys doing anything? At home by yourselves?
Unlikely.
I'm gonna make pizza, stromboli, and maybe French fries, and we're having a Zoom. New Year. Just gonna be playing video games with my friends until 1:00.
Nice.
Yeah.
And Drew, you said you and Sarah aren't really doing anything?
As far as we know.
So you'll be in bed by 7?
Maybe.
In bed by 7, alarm set for midnight just to say Happy New Year and then go to bed.
Let's be real. This is Drew. He doesn't actually.
Yeah,
I don't.
I'm using it for a reason to drink my second bottle of champagne, or it's sparkling wine called FU 20. What about you, Cobb? You have any plans?
We're gonna get some snacks and watch movies all night.
Nice. Gonna do the whole
No. We're not gonna line up any
dropping or whatever. No,
we're not gonna do any line up a movie so that a specific thing happens at midnight.
Okay.
Because I like people do it for Die Hard. If you start Endgame at a certain point, it'll turn midnight when Tony snaps, stuff like that.
You need to watch it at a certain time so that it's Avengers Assemble at midnight. Screw the snap, it's Avengers Assemble at midnight.
No, that happened in the middle of the day there, buddy. Sun was still up.
But I'm just Tony snapped in the middle of the day too.
We don't.
Tony
know that.
snapped within 20 minutes after.
We have no idea how long that battle went on for. That battle could have lasted 3 nights the way the fourth Great Shinobi War did. We don't know.
Yeah, but the based on D&D rolls, everything is 6 seconds. So probably could have lasted only 1 round with everything going on.
Yeah, D&D is dumb. We don't count those.
No, it's not. But it was daytime when he snapped.
No, it was. I was just kidding. But
I know.
No, we kind of are both just picking a couple movies that we want to watch, and then we're just going to kind of rotate between them.
I'm likely not getting a half day tomorrow, so I will be preparing because we've been super slow the past couple of days on pizza dough during work, and then bringing Christmas gifts over to my brother and his family because I haven't done that yet, and then relaxing, playing video games.
Sounds like a thing to do.
Yeah.
I was off today and I'm off tomorrow, so I played some games during the day today. I'll probably play some more tomorrow.
I don't get time off until
Yeah, it sucks. I had because there was nothing to do this year. I had a decent amount of PTO left over, and we only carry 5 days into the next year.
Yeah.
So I ended up taking off Wednesday and Thursday last week, and Wednesday and Thursday this week to give me nice 5-day weekends.
Yeah. I had a ton of time that I could take off starting back in July, but then and used about 5 days in September for Avengers. And then once we found out the company was closing in October, we were not allowed to use any PTO time. And now we're in our 90-day period before we get our PTO time since October.
Which that sucks.
Yeah, it sucks. So I haven't had those extra PTO days since September. It sucks.
Yeah, not even that, like, you said it before, like, it's slow enough that you don't necessarily need the time off. Like, you're not, like, getting burnt out on work. But at the same time, knowing that you can't take a day off if you just need to.
There's just some days where, like, I don't want to work. But, like, I have to. Or, like, I would much rather just be able to call and be like, I'm not going to make it today. I don't want to work today. I'm not feeling it. I'm taking the day off. And, like, yeah, it's slow enough to where, like, I kind of get away with that already. But it's, like, it's a different feeling from having, like, a Wednesday off than a Saturday or Sunday off. And, like, I want that Wednesday.
Yeah, I mean, that's fair. Yeah, that is definitely fair.
Anyway, I think there's a little bit of news and stuff other than personal life that we could talk about.
Yeah, so we're going to wrap this episode up with things that didn't suck this year. But before we get to that, last week they announced that Cobra Kai is releasing a week early. It's going to be out on Saturday or Friday. Yeah, January 1st.
Nice. I'm so excited for it.
When was it supposed to come
out? Next week, the 16th, I believe.
Yeah, it was supposed to just be, it's like a week earlier is all it is.
Or maybe 2 weeks earlier, because I think it was the 16th, and that would not be just a week out.
Yeah, that would be.
Yeah, I'm not 100% sure, but it's not a super significant amount of time. It's still the same month that it was originally supposed to release, but it's still a little bit sooner. And, like, it makes sense just to release it because Season 3 has been finished filming since December of 2019.
Yeah.
They had, like, I think they're in the process of filming Season 4 as we speak. So, like, there's no sense to hold off.
Do we know that there's a Season
4? They've already been contracted for a Season 4. I will double check that. 99% sure they have.
Yeah, I'm sure they're contracted for it, but it's Netflix, so you just never know with them. Because Season 3 was produced while it was still under YouTube.
Yeah. Like, they had come out and said that, Netflix is renewed for Season 4. This is December, cool. According to Men's Health on December 10th, they renewed it for Season 4 already. Because of how, like, I'm sure so many people went and watched it on Netflix for Season 1 and 2. Like, I rewatched it, and I'm thinking of rewatching it again before it comes. Well, I'm probably not going to have time, but I might rewatch it before I watch Season 3. That's how good it is and how much I like it.
Yeah. I did see today, just related to this, that the one girl that's part of Cobra Kai, that was also like childhood friends with Daniel's daughter, is not going to be in the season.
In Season 3 or Season 4?
In Season 3.
I mean...
And, like, she was kind of a main part of the ensemble when it came to, like, the kids. Yeah. So I'm curious to see, like, is it just that the season focuses so much on, like, the core cast that the sort of, like, side characters like her and the kid that gets the tattoo on his back
Hawk.
And the mohawk? Yeah.
Yeah, Hawk.
I haven't seen any of the shows since Season 2.
He's got ago. They call him Hawk because he has a tattoo of a hawk on his back and he has a mohawk. Yeah. So it's just
it's a dumb show, but it's good.
It's dumb, but it's so good. And honestly, like the fighting and the choreography on the fighting is really good.
And really, I just want to see how the first episode picks up because the last thing we saw was the one kid in a hospital and he's probably paralyzed.
And like I know a bunch of people on Facebook who had watched it after it was released on Netflix and never watched it on YouTube, and they're like, oh, this is so good, I can't wait. And I comment to them, like, I've been sitting on, like, what's going to happen with Diego since the spring of 2019. So, yeah, I really want to know what's going to happen.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, I watched, I believe, both the first season and the second season I watched all in one day while at work because it was a slow day at work. Like, and that's just how good that's how good the show is.
Yeah, and I'm glad it's coming out this weekend because like this is one of those weekends where like there's definitely time to watch it.
Yeah, like I'll probably watch it Sunday.
No, watch it Friday.
I don't know. I mean, maybe, probably. We'll see when I decide to watch it.
You're not doing anything Friday.
No, but still, I might do other. I don't know when I'm gonna watch it, but I will definitely watch it this weekend.
Fine, whatever.
Look, I'm probably gonna watch for the first 2 seasons before I watch the third.
I can't do that. Like I don't want to watch the same thing twice just to watch the new thing, unless it's been like an especially long time.
I mean, I enjoy it enough and it's such a bingeable show that I feel like it's easy to do it with that. Like, I do it with, My Hero as well. Every time the new season is getting ready to come out, I rewatch all the previous seasons.
Yeah, that's just crazy. That's too much.
It's how much I love it, and again, how bingeable it is.
I mean, I like it. I don't like watching the same thing over and over again. Like, well, it's one thing if I'm just putting on, like, background noise, but...
Well, my secondary watch through is like this watch through of Cobra Kai season 1 and 2. I'll probably be playing something in the background or whatever, not paying full attention to it. Or I'll probably watch it while, like I was going to try to watch some of it while working this week, but I decided to rewatch Critical Role, or continue my rewatch of Critical Role, which I started a while back.
Nerd.
I really like that show, and it inspires me.
Are you up to date on it?
Yeah, I'm up to date on it. I've watched every episode this year. But I decided to rewatch from the first episode of Campaign 1, just because it's such a good storytelling, and it helps inspire me with D&D stuff.
So you can't come up with your own ideas, so you're stealing them.
No, I don't. Maybe a little bit. Maybe a little bit, but no.
So Warner Brothers, DC owner people, they announced that they're planning to put some more movies on HBO Max. So it looks like Batgirl and the Static Shock are both 2 movies that have been sort of announced and in development for a while now. I think actually Static Shock was only announced like a handful of months ago. But they're 2 of the movies that are being eyed to go to HBO Max instead of theaters.
Okay.
And then I honestly didn't remember that these things were announced before. But there's that Gotham City like PD show or something like that, I believe it's called. That's going to be coming to HBO Max.
Yeah.
That is actually supposed to be a prequel to the Batman.
I think that show is going to be what Gotham was supposed to be, which was just a procedural with what's his name, Commissioner with Gordon as a detective.
So it's supposed to actually take place during Batman's first year.
Okay.
So like Batman exists in the world, but it'll probably be one of those things where like you'll never see Rob Pattinson's Batman in it. You'll see like shadows and stuff like that, and that'll be that.
Which makes sense.
But then there's also, and I totally missed this one, there's going to be a Peacemaker series, which is John Cena's character from Suicide Squad.
I didn't know about that.
Yeah, so that is also going to be an HBO Max series as like a prequel to the Suicide Squad.
Which, that's interesting. Like, HBO Max, it's solid. Like, they're getting some good content on it.
Yeah, and honestly, like, I'm actually super interested in seeing a Batgirl and Static Shock movie that... Yeah. Like, it's just going to be on HBO Max, so they're not going to try and do their big budget thing to it because that keeps failing.
Yeah, exactly.
So yeah, we'll see how that goes, but at least that's interesting that they're trying to keep both platforms going. They're trying to keep their theatrical stuff going, but also pushing what would honestly probably be smaller box office takes just over to HBO Max to keep that platform alive.
Yeah, like they're trying to get. I feel like they're trying to get HBO Max to the Disney Plus status, which it'll never get to that point. But like they're doing a good job at trying to get the content that people want, and get them get it working. Like there's nowadays there's more and more cord cutters, and HBO has really good content, and there's a lot of content on there that I haven't even watched yet that I want to. Like,
HBO has always been known for its original series. Like, every series might not be for you, but they make quality series.
Yeah.
At least up until, like, the last season. It seems like the last season on a lot of shows fall apart. I mean, I know Game of Thrones' final season was a shit show. I believe a lot of people dislike the way Sopranos ended.
They disliked how it ended. The season wasn't bad. They just did not like how it ended.
Okay. I've never watched an episode of Sopranos, so like I know how it ends, but I don't really know what people thought of the whole season.
Yeah, I think overall the season was good, which is why the finale was so looked upon. But the way it ended, because it was just it cut to black and it didn't have an actual ending, that's what upset people.
That's fair. And I know like True Blood didn't have a very good final season either.
Yeah, they tend to take series a little too
they should end them like a season earlier than they end them, or stop basing things off of books that they're not going to follow.
And it's not even stop basing things off of books they're not going to follow, but they didn't need the last 2 seasons for Game of Thrones. They could have condensed that all into 1 season, and it would have been probably better because we wouldn't have been waiting so much for it. Because there were... I didn't hate the final season. I didn't hate the finale of Game of Thrones, but there were a lot of like filler episodes it felt.
Like in that last season especially, and like the season as a whole wasn't bad, but the ending was bad. Like that's not the ending that anyone wanted to see for any of those characters.
No, but
and like in a lot of ways, like it didn't fit for a lot of them either.
No, not really. I don't know. I didn't. I felt it was fine. Like I didn't have that big of a I acknowledge that it wasn't as good as it probably could have been, but I also don't. I didn't hate it as much as a lot of people.
That's
same
fair.
But it's the same as like with The Last Jedi and the Rise of Skywalker. Like I thought those were both enjoyable films that were good in their own right, and there's a lot of people that hated one or the other or both. I'm like you're just upset because it wasn't the way you wanted it to be.
I mean that's always the case with any fandom.
Yeah,
true.
Yeah, like that's just and honestly, like Star Wars fans are the worst.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
But kind of in line with all the DC stuff, at least you and I watched Wonder Woman 1984 this week. Drew, I'm assuming you did not.
We don't have HBO Max. So.
Do you have HBO?
Nope.
Okay.
The fuck would I have HBO for?
Sometimes they just give it to you for free with Comcast.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess there's the small chance that it's currently a free thing.
You could, but, at least this is what a lot of people I know have done. You could literally call up and say, I want my bill lowered, and they'll turn around and pretend, and probably just give you HBO for free, because they used to own HBO. They might give you Cinemax now, because I think
you get like Showtime or Stars or Cinemax or one of them, because they don't own HBO anymore.
Yeah, so when they owned HBO, you used to just be able to just call up and be like, I'm mad, and they'll be like, here's HBO a year for free. And you would just have to do that every year.
When I've asked to lower my bill, like they also like mention adding on any of those premium channels, and I'm like, no, I'm never going to use them, and then I'll forget about taking them off when you start charging me for them.
Yeah.
So just no.
But also, I mean, if you were, I mean, I knew you weren't going to be interested in it, but if you were interested in it, you could have just signed up for a trial. Like they have 7-day free trials. You could have watched the movie, and HBO Max doesn't have a 7-day free trial.
Looked yesterday.
Really?
They have no trial. They have a FAQ page, and one of the questions is, how can I get a free trial? And the answer is, we do not offer.
They did when it launched, so they must have gotten rid of that. They did when they launched, recently.
Yes. But apparently, if you find an offer from somewhere else that includes a trial with your subscription, that's the only way you can get one, but HBO does not offer it directly.
Wow.
Because... I was looking for anything to watch last night, and was trying... Someone mentioned to watch Alien, so I was like, I've never watched that. Let me see if I can find it anywhere. And the only where it was streaming for free was HBO, and they were like, well, get a free trial. And I went to their website, and they were like, we don't have free trials. I'm like, well, guess I'm not watching that.
Yeah, which is just... That's crazy, because even, like, just regular HBO, you used to be able to sign up, like, HBO Now or Go or whatever it was called. You used to be able to get a 7-day trial for it.
So, I don't know how reliable this article is. It's filmdaily.co, but it says in there, sadly, HBO appears to have retracted its free trial just in time to take advantage of the streaming service's exclusive premiere of highly anticipated Wonder Woman 1984, which means within the past 2 weeks, they took it away.
Oh, so they did it so that anyone that wanted to watch it that wasn't already subscribed would have to pay for at least, it's a $15 a month subscription. Mm-hmm. So that would at least get them the cost of a movie ticket.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
unless they took it away after announcing the that their entire slate is coming to HBO next year, so that like people can't do that for all of the big films, and they either have to pay the $15 to see their one big film or go see it in theaters, which, in my opinion, makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, like, if you're going to subscribe, like, if you only wanted to watch, say, Mortal Kombat when it comes out.
Yeah.
And, like, you really want to watch Mortal Kombat, it's going to be more than $15 to go see it in the theater with another person. I mean, frankly, it's more than $15 to go see it by yourself. So, like, get HBO Max for a month. Like, subscribe and immediately cancel. This way you don't have to worry about it charging you. And then, watch the movie when it comes out, and then, you know, maybe watch some other stuff on there while you have the subscription, and then do it again in a year or whatever when another movie comes out you want to watch.
Yeah, exactly. It makes sense. Like, just...
Yeah, like, $15 is a lot for a rental, but when you're getting, like, a whole platform along with it for 30 days, at least at that point, there's a little extra content behind it.
You're not spending $15 for the movie. You're spending $15 for the platform with that movie and hundreds of others, as well as TV series and shit like that as well. Like, yeah, it's worth it to pay that. Like, for instance, again, like Drew, if you and Sarah wanted to see whatever movie comes out next year that WB will have, $15 is definitely cheaper than going to the movies for you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, totally.
Yeah. And safer.
Yeah, absolutely. But yeah, Wonder Woman 1984 was released Christmas Day on both theaters and HBO Max. There's so many different streaming names now.
And it did not make all that much money in the theaters.
Oh, well,
shocking.
I'm not... Well, it didn't make all that much... Is it, like, worldwide didn't make all that much money, or just in the United States didn't make much money?
Both.
And like, I'm
opening weekend worldwide, I think was only a couple of 100 million.
Yeah.
If that, they didn't break 100 million opening weekend in the US.
No.
Which, like honestly, like, even a Christmas Day opening like that, on any other year, that movie would have made what it made worldwide, just domestic.
Yeah.
So,
and I'm sure they haven't released this information, and probably won't for a long time, but I wonder what their, like, new subscription numbers or stream numbers for the movie over the past week were.
So they didn't announce, like, any specifics on that, but they did mention that, like, streaming on Christmas Day was, like, up, like, its highest it's ever been or something like that. I forget exactly how it was worded. I kind of, like, read it, like, on, like, a random article that, like, I was just kind of skimming.
Yeah.
But what did you think of it?
It was...
also, like, spoilers, if you haven't seen Wonder Woman 84, maybe skip ahead, like, 10 minutes.
Yeah. It was enjoyable. It wasn't as good as the first Wonder Woman movie. Wholeheartedly, it was not as good as the first one. It wasn't as good as Aquaman. It was better than the rest of the DC film series. Besides, because I haven't seen it, Harley Quinn and, what's the other one with the kid that turns into Shazam?
Yeah.
Yeah, I haven't seen those two, so I can't, but, like, it's better than, like, the slate before all of that. I know that for a fact. But it was cheesy in all the right ways, because it takes place in the 80s.
And see, I don't think they had enough kind of 80s cheese. Like, it was there, but I feel like they missed a couple things that they probably could have done with it a little bit more.
Yeah, but, like, when it was cheesy because of the 80s. It wasn't, like, cheesy because it's a superhero film or whatever. It's cheesy because it's the fucking 80s, and the 80s are nothing but cheese. Like,
I mean, that's fair.
Yeah. So, like, it was cheesy in the right way because, like, it fit for the time frame. It was fit in the settings. Like, for instance, the whole fashion show montage with what's his name was great.
With Steve Trevor.
With Steve Trevor was great. I loved it.
Yeah, no, like, honestly, it's like I took a bunch of notes. Like, Chris Pine was probably one of the best parts of that movie because he got to play that sort of, like, man at a time.
Yes.
He died in 1918.
Yeah.
And, like, he comes to this world where, like him with the exercise bike, where he picks up and he says, I tried to ride this bike to you and I couldn't get it to move.
Yeah. And then when, like, we've all seen the trailers where it's like, yeah, she's like, this is all art. And he looks at a trash can. She's like, that's a trash can. It was just like, all of that with Chris Pine's character was really good.
And the fanny pack.
The fanny
Loved
pack.
the fanny pack.
Yeah, they needed more fanny pack in that movie. Pedro Pascal was good. His part was a little weird, but he was really good at it.
Yeah, so I don't know if you realize this or not. He's playing the same character that was the villain on the first season of Supergirl. He was Max Lord.
I didn't remember that Max Lord was in Supergirl, but I did know that he was Max Lord. But he obviously played a different version of Max Lord.
Yeah, in Supergirl, I am double checking this just in case I am fucking wrong. Yeah. So he was played by Peter Facinelli. He was the guy that he was the rich guy, like he was the Lex Luthor stand-in the first season. Yeah,
he was like the tech guy and made all the like I don't know. He made a bunch of tech stuff. He also isn't he the one who kind of created Bizarro, Supergirl, stuff like that. Yeah.
So that's
I remember him.
The same
I remember
character.
His face. Yeah, I remember him. I remember his face. I just didn't remember that was Maxwell Lord.
Yeah, like so they played the same character, just two very different takes on him, and both of them were also very different from the comic book version of him.
Mm-hmm.
Though, like Pedro Pascal's like powers were at least similar. Maxwell Lord has the power, like he can make people do things.
Yeah.
So like he can say something like jump off a building, and nothing will stop you from jumping off a building.
Yeah, he has the ability, because I was looking him up while watching the movies, like the ability of telepathic suggestion.
Yeah, exactly.
Whereas in this one, I don't know if the Dreamstone is a real thing in DC Universe, but he got the abilities. He made a wish towards a Dreamstone that gave him the ability to grant wishes for everyone, but it took a major toll on his body whenever he did it.
His body and his sanity.
Yeah. I don't think it was his sanity that was really affected by it. It was just his body mostly. And I think he was like, he was really good, but his character wasn't really like well written, if you can understand what I'm saying.
So that was the biggest problem with the movie, is it wasn't a well written.
Mm-hmm.
It had some good parts. Like honestly, the part when they're stealing the jet and Diana's just like, oh no, they can see us. There's this thing called radar. I'll explain it later. And Chris Pine just goes, well, shit, Diana. And like, that's just the scene. It's like, that was really funny and well written and stuff. But then like a lot of the characterizations and stuff, like especially for the villains, were just super lacking. Like you never really got a good reason for why he's doing, not even just why he's doing what he's doing, but like why he went to such extremes. Cause like he knew about the stone ahead of time. It's not like he just stumbled upon it and he's like, oh, well, I wish I could do this. It was like he went looking for that specific thing. Like, but he also didn't come off as like a suit. Like he wasn't a villain leading up to that. Like he was kind of just a douchebag, but also like had obviously just had like kind of a shit life and wanted to make something special for himself.
Yeah, and that's like kind of also my problem with like I said, it's enjoyable. I'm not going to say it's an amazing movie. It's definitely not as good as the first one. There are major issues with it. Like the ending, both of the villains just basically get out scot-free. Like everyone's wishes were undone, and he found his son. Like they don't show him getting arrested or anything. They don't show anything happening with him.
I feel like he had to have gotten arrested, and it just wasn't shown.
But that's maybe something that they probably should have done, because like unless they plan on using him in further parts of this of like the whole DC universe, but it's essentially being rewritten really soon. But that takes place before Flashpoint, so who knows how that's going to.
We also don't know when they do Wonder Woman 3 what era it's going to happen in.
Yeah, true.
Like they could jump it. Like, I mean, they had like an 80-year jump between the first one and the second one, so they could just jump to present day for a third one.
Yeah.
But one of the things that I wrote down about the movie before we watched it, it was too long. They didn't have enough movie or they didn't have enough like coherent story for that long of a movie. It's a 2.5 hour movie. There's at least a half an hour that can get pulled out of it. In particular, everything that happens, none of that matters at all to the plot if you think about it. It's like Indiana Jones and with the arc at the end. Like him being there made no difference to the plot, to the end plot of the movie.
Yeah, it's like he went there. He had a reason to go there, but like they didn't have to build upon it as much as they did. Like,
Yeah, like
the fight sequence on the road that was cool didn't need to happen.
Yeah, and like a lot of that the whole thing, like they used it as a way to get the invisible jet in there. They used it to demonstrate that Diana's powers were weakening. They used it as they had that stupid scene where these kids are oblivious to these giant army vehicles fucking just flooring it down the highway.
Yeah, and that happens with a lot of freaking movies where it's like, how are these just people completely oblivious of all this that's coming down the road? How do they not hear these explosions happening and shit? Like,
yeah, but like that was a good 30 minutes of the movie that like didn't actually have any bearing on the actual plot.
Yeah.
Like, Max could have not gone there, not had the interaction with the Egyptian prince dude, not put the wall up around Egypt, and it wouldn't have affected the story at all. Because all they did with that was they occasionally flashed to it to show that people were having a bad time.
Yeah.
Like,
and like
they could have easily not done that and just went right to the White House.
And like, I'm sorry, but I don't think a jet fighter has enough fuel. A jet fighter sitting in the airport of the Smithsonian has enough fuel to fly from DC to Egypt and then back to DC.
Yeah, I looked that up. It doesn't. Only an F-15, I believe can get from has enough fuel capacity to do a transatlantic flight.
Mm-hmm.
So even if that was an F-15, it could have only gone one way.
Yeah.
And they had no credentials to get that thing refilled, at least not quickly enough to then get back to New York not New York, DC,
yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah. One thing that was cool, during the whole, like, showing Steve the montage of everything that's happened, they went to the Air and Space Museum. And before they did the Air and Space Museum, they were under that circular building. And while I'm watching this, I'm looking at the circular building, I'm like, I feel like I've been there before. Interesting. I've never really been to DC, but I feel like I've been there before. And then they go into the Air and Space Museum, and they walk around, and they go down the steps right where all the rockets are. And I'm like, holy shit, I was literally there in the Division 2. And that's that's how I've been there before at the Circle Building, was Division 2.
That's funny. But yeah, honestly, there were a lot of nice little touches they did with Steve. Just like I said, like his man out of time thing, like him seeing like a passenger aircraft flying.
Yeah.
It's like they didn't have those in 1918. Like he would have never seen a plane like that flying with a bunch of people on.
No.
Same thing with like the escalator when they're going down into the subway.
Yeah. I do like the nod to the invisible plane. Like they gave her an invisible plane in this one.
That was just like a fun little fan service thing.
Yeah. But like again, like the invisible plane led into a part that was unnecessary.
Yeah.
And like unfortunately, and I hate picking movies apart, physically impossible because of the fuel capacity.
So I want to talk about Kristen Wiig for a second.
Mm-hmm.
I thought she did a really good job as Barbara Ann.
Yeah.
I think the actual transformation at the end was completely unnecessary.
It was definitely. I thought she would have, like, it would have been cool for her just to have the, like, cheetah-like powers, maybe a tail, but not necessarily be, like, full fur covered and everything.
Yeah, well, so if they would have done it earlier and had it actually be, like, relevant, cool. But the way they did it, it was like, so from the time she made her wish till that point in the movie, like, you saw her just subtly changing. Like, she was wearing more, like tighter clothes, and then she was wearing more sort of, like, 80s, like, punk rock sort of stuff. Like,
yeah.
She had, the leopard and cheetah print stuff, and she was just getting more aggressive and mean throughout.
Yeah.
Which, like, she did a really good job going from kind of, like, this, like, bubbly, klutzy archaeologist to, or gemologist, I forget exactly what her title was, to kind of this, my life sucked, now I have all the power, so fuck everybody.
Yeah.
And just keeping kind of, like, the subtle nod at, like, her wearing, like those patterns, and her just having the power would have worked. But instead, in the very end of the movie, for no discernible reason whatsoever, she suddenly looks like a cheetah.
Well, it's because Pedro Pascal, Maxwell Lord, asked her, like, what do you want? And she's like, I don't want to be like anyone else. I want to be an alpha predator.
Yeah, no, I get that. But, like, she kind of already had that wish. So, like, her looking like a cheetah just didn't make sense other than to be like, look, see, she's cheetah like in the comic books. And it was like, just, it was a 5-minute scene.
It definitely more so didn't make sense because they said it multiple times. Everyone only gets one wish.
Well, and that was the other thing I was going to say. Like, she got a wish before the stone became Lord. So, like, did she then get a second wish because technically... Is it like when Jafar wishes to be a genie? Like, if somebody had the genie's lamp and then Jafar's lamp, they could have technically had 6 wishes?
I don't think so, because, like, he wished to be the stone. He didn't wish to have the stone's powers. So, because she got her one wish through the stone, he was now the stone. He should only have been able to give her the one wish. But she also, I don't think, said, I wish, and she also wasn't touching him when she said that.
That's true, too. Yeah, so, like, that whole thing just... like I said, if they were going to go that way, they should have done it earlier in the movie and had her actually been a threat. But instead, it was just this one quick 5-minute fight where she looked like a cheetah. And then, as soon as that fight was over, she didn't look like a cheetah anymore before she renounced her wish.
Yeah, did she even renounce her wish? I don't remember them, like, showing her.
Yeah, the last time they show her, she's sitting on that, like, scaffolding that Diana leaves her on after kind of, like, everyone else started renouncing them. And she goes, I renounce my, like, kind of, like, in, like, a half sob. But she already looked human again.
Yeah.
So it's just, like, what was that?
Was she just getting the cheetah powers because he was getting more powerful? Or, like, yeah, it didn't make sense. I completely agree. And, like, they took away Wonder Woman's biggest villain in their second movie.
Or at least, like, for now. Like, Cheetah has gone from Cheetah to Barbara Ann back to Cheetah before.
Yeah, but, like, how is she gonna get her... Like, I'm sure they can write a way to get her powers again. But, like, again, she was just left on a scaffolding, renounced her wish. We don't know if anything happens with her afterwards.
I mean, part of that is because they cut to, like, the aftermath, basically, as soon as that scene was over, rather than showing us anything that happened to, like, the actual, like, core cast.
Yeah.
But it's a shame. Like, I enjoyed the movie. For all the complaints I had, I thought the movie was it was entertaining. It was just, it was, like, 30 minutes longer than it to be. Yeah. And if they trimmed that 30 minutes, it would have actually probably been I would have a lot more nice things to say, I feel, because they could have tightened up some of those other scenes. But the cast did a really good job. Like, nobody on the cast was bad. They just didn't really have the best script.
Yeah. What about the mid-credits scene? How, like, I was, like, super giddy when that happened. I was like, that's really cool that they did. Yeah, like, a really cool nod, basically, that they did that. Like, I didn't remember her name when they showed her, but I was like, oh, that's the Wonder Woman from the TV series forever ago.
Yeah,
like,
it was Linda Carter.
I was like, oh, man, that's really cool that they did that.
Also, the president from Supergirl.
Right, yeah. I forgot that she was president. For some reason, I'm forgetting a lot about Supergirl, even though I friggin' love that show and hate that it's ending this season.
Yeah, that was a nice nod because she was also supposed to be the basically the first Amazon that was left on Earth outside of the Themyscira.
Yeah.
She stayed behind to allow the others to return to the island. And had just apparently been wandering the Earth for a couple thousand years, I guess.
I hate that, like, this armor was supposed to be an armor to fight off 1,000 humans or whatever, but, like, a single half-cheetah metahuman was able to tear it apart.
So she did have the strength of Diana, and frankly, like, Diana's strength is superhuman. Like, it is, like, 1,000 humans hitting against that wouldn't do anything, but I'm sure if Superman took a punch at it, it would fucking crack. And Diana's strength is on par with Superman. Like, not quite as strong, but, like, she could give it out and take it if they got into a real fight.
Yeah, I guess. I don't know, I thought it was silly. Like, even friggin' both Diana and Chitara, that's her villain name, right? Cheetah. It's just Cheetah, not Chitara?
Chitara is, I believe, from He-Man.
Okay. But both Diana and Cheetah were under the water when, like, an electric line hit the water.
Yeah, and only one of them got shocked.
But not,
well,
but like,
gold doesn't. Wait, Drew, you'll have to confirm this. I don't believe that gold conducts electricity.
It definitely does.
It does. I thought
that's why it gets used in a lot of. That's why you see, like, gold-plated shit.
What is it? Isn't there a metal that doesn't really conduct electricity correctly? Or maybe I'm thinking of heat.
But honestly, even if it did or didn't, her face was still exposed.
I mean, look, you're not wrong. Like, the fact that only one of them got shocked is stupid.
But also, like, Diana's half Amazon, which is, like, stone people, if I remember correctly, like they were made from stone. So like it makes sense that
Diana in the comics, depending on the era, was born of clay sculpted by Zeus.
Yeah, so like it kind of makes sense that she doesn't conduct electricity. She's clay basically. But like Cheetah, she should have died. She shouldn't have just been shocked. She should have flat out died.
Well, I mean, also she's got all of those superhuman powers at that point, so surviving that isn't uncalled for. But both of them should have been shocked.
Yeah, it was just like you said, it was a good, enjoyable movie. It definitely has its flaws.
Yeah, and like all the flaws, I think, are really just the script. Like, I think the acting and directing were actually all really good. It was just it was too long, and some of the stuff just didn't work the way I think they wanted it to. And it was one of those where, honestly, like, it's very light on action, and I think that works for the movie.
Yeah,
but they kind of like forced action in like in that Egypt scene where it's like, we could have just not had that. We could have had the only real set action scene be the opening and ending of the and had the rest of it be like the story about her.
Yeah, like the opening of the movie, then you have the White House, and then you have the ending of the movie with her against Cheetah. Like, there was enough action to take out the whole entire Egypt, or a majority of Egypt, and be fine. But you needed to show a way that she was losing her powers. So they had to have that in there some way, somehow.
Yeah, like, the first one wasn't, like, off-the-walls action either.
No, it was...
But, like, this one didn't have that, like... The first Wonder Woman has multiple scenes where like, they are exciting, memorable scenes.
Yeah.
And I don't think this one quite had those. Like, there's scenes that you're going to remember, but it's more for the humor than for any sort of, like, emotional stakes. Like, in the first movie, when they're on the battlefield in World War I, and she walks out of the trenches and, like, takes off the coat and, like, is dressed as Wonder Woman for the first time, like, that's a memorable sequence of that movie. And this one, like, the memorable sequence, like we talked about before, is the fashion montage, or, like, the jet scene. Not necessarily anything that like, even the end when she shows up in the armor, like, that's not necessarily, like, super memorable. Also, I'm really curious how the wings...
Yeah, I'm curious how the wings work. I'm also...
That's not a nitpick. Like, I just really want to know how they work.
Yeah. No, I get it, because, like, they're not connected to her body. They're just, like, on the armor, but she was able to, like, fully... And I get it. I totally get it. Or the fact that she can fly, but then also needed to ride lightning in order to get... She was literally flying for 10 minutes over DC when I thought she was flying to the final battle. But no, she ended up flying for 10 minutes just to her apartment to get her armor. Like, that was another scene that could have been cut down.
Yeah, I mean, so that scene didn't have to be as long as it was, but it was like that scene of showing that, like, she can do a thing that she didn't know she could do.
Yeah.
And I really like how they use the lasso for a lot of that stuff. Like, not only did they use it in a bunch of interesting ways as a weapon, but, like, her using it almost like Thor's hammer to fly.
Yeah.
Where, like a few times she was, like, whipping it around and then flinging it out as, like, a way to, like, propel herself forward.
Yeah.
I thought that was really...
It was really cool, like, how they used the lasso and everything. But, like, there's just... I'm sure if I were to rewatch it, I could definitely, like, really find scenes, and I'm just like, all right, this went on a little too long. That went on a little...
Yeah, and unfortunately... So, I also... There was something else that I wrote down, like, after we the movie. So, I think the lack of a movie experience is really going to change the way movie... Because, like, if think about it, if you had gone to see Wonder Woman in the theater opening weekend, where, like, there are a bunch of other people in the theater that are going to clap and laugh and have all those emotional responses to the scenes that are supposed to trigger those responses, versus sitting at home by yourself or with one other person where, you know, maybe you look at your phone a couple of times, or, like, you're just otherwise there are things to distract you. You're not having that same connection with movie and with a group of other strangers experiencing it also. Yeah. Where, like, I think, like, these big blockbuster movies are just going to be different going forward. Like, I don't know that people are going to come out of them as hyped, even if a year ago it would have been like, oh shit, that was the coolest fucking thing we've ever seen.
Oh yeah, I agree. I totally agree.
I mean, does that just kind of go to show that maybe the movies aren't as big as people lead them to believe they are? and like, or is that just the seeing something?
I think it's just the nature of seeing things with other people.
Yeah, I think it's like it's the nature of seeing things with other people, but also like as much as Wonder Woman is kind of a big box office film, I feel like we have to wait for like something bigger to know, or something else big to see how like their general reaction is going to be with watching it digital over going to a theater, because like we haven't had a lot of that. Like this is literally like the first big film release in 4 months, like after Tenet, which came out I think in August.
Yeah, that sounds right.
And no one went and saw Tenet because no one's going to see the movies, and apparently that movie sucked anyway.
I mean, yeah, no, it probably did.
Yeah.
But I mean, that's also because just Chris Nolan doesn't really...
I wouldn't go that far, but that's your
I mean, we talked about this before. Neither of us have seen his last, like, 4 movies.
Yeah. I want to watch them.
We've both only ever seen 3 of his... 3 of them were Batman movies. 2 of them were good Batman movies.
I've seen 4 of his movies.
That's what I said. Didn't I? Or did I say 3 both
3.
times?
I've seen 4 of his movies because of Inception.
Yeah, we've both seen 4 of his movies, but 3 of them were Batman movies.
Yeah.
That's what I meant to say. But anyway, as far as like Wonder Woman goes, they did announce Wonder Woman 3. And Patty Jenkins is going to return to direct, and Gal Gadot is going to be Wonder Woman still. Yeah. So
hopefully they get better writing and like the cast was great. It's just the writing. They need better writing.
Yeah, and I think I don't know who the screenwriter was for. Oh, actually, this article has a little bit of the numbers. Wonder Woman 1984 saw 16.7 million in 2,000 North American theaters for its opening weekend.
That's not bad for the circumstances, in my opinion.
And it was 85 million worldwide. So I was way off. But they did say that as for HBO Max, nearly half of all subscribers to the service watched on its launch day, alongside millions of wholesale subscribers who have access to HBO Max via a cable, wireless, or other partner service. HBO Max as a whole saw total viewing hours on Fridays more than triple in comparison to a typical day in the previous month.
Huh.
So, like, a lot of people definitely watched this, which is which I assume is why they announced the third one so quickly.
Yeah.
Like, if they hadn't seen that return on HBO Max, they probably would have held off. This movie would still be happening, but they would have held off on announcing.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm definitely interested to see where they take the character, because at this point, this movie's Diana was definitely like between what we see in the future and what she was in the first one. Like, she's not she's not as idealistic as she was. She's definitely a little more jaded and withdrawn, but trying to like help people. But by the time like Batman and Superman comes around, it looks like she wasn't really even doing the whole Wonder Woman that much. Because so they did it. They did a cool thing at the beginning of 84 where they kind of show that she takes out security cameras when she's being Wonder Woman, so that she does get to keep a level of anonymity.
Yeah, and secrecy, yeah.
Yeah, so that like people, like other than the people that are physically in a place that she's helping, don't, like there's no video or pictures of her as Wonder Woman. But like between 1984 and 2017 or 2018, whenever Justice League came out, or Batman vs Superman, there's digital cameras become super popular. Cell phones with cameras become real popular. Like, the fact that Bruce could only find a picture of her from World War I, it's kind of like, well, did she just, has she not really been Wonder Woman this whole time? Has she just been, living her life, moving around the world, to work in museums?
I mean, probably, in Justice League she was, or Batman vs Superman, she was in London, right?
That was in Justice League.
Yeah, Justice League, she was in London.
Or Paris. It might have been Paris.
Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, it makes sense that after a while, because at some point or another, wherever she's working is going to realize she's not aging. Like, at some point she'll have to leave, kind of like, and I hate making this reference, kind of like in Twilight, how the Cullens have to move around the world because they don't age after 20 years and their kids are always in high school.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, the kids can pull off being, teens to early 20s, so they kind of go through those years and then move to someplace else.
Yeah, yeah.
So yeah, I am interested to see where they take it next. See if they take it just pre-Batman v Superman, or if they take it to present day and have it be post Justice League.
Yeah, I'm interested to see what they come up with that. And I'm excited to see the I'm just kind of still trying to figure out this statement in this article, because it said Warner Brothers chairman Tony Emmerich announced the news following the strong opening performance of Wonder Woman 1984 that saw the film earn $16.7 million from blah blah blah. Globally, Wonder Woman 1984 brought in $36.1 million from 42 markets this weekend, bringing the worldwide tally to $85 million. But 36.1 plus 16.7 is not 85 million.
Yeah, no, those numbers don't equal the same thing.
No.
Did it open elsewhere before this past weekend?
I mean, it says that saw the film earn $16.7 million from 2,100 North American theaters, alongside also being available on HBO Max. So, I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know how they get $85 million when you add 36 and 60.
Yeah.
Because, yeah, that's 52.
Yeah. I mean, I don't think it released anywhere else earlier than this weekend. But, like,
no,
it's saying,
it was definitely a Christmas Day release. So.
It's globally saw the film earned. I mean, it's saying this weekend it brought in $85 million, but I don't know if that $16.7 million is this weekend or if the $36.1 million was this weekend. I don't know.
I mean,
it opened December 16th in the UK.
Oh, wow.
So there. It's been out at least in the UK for an extra week. 9 days even. And yeah,
so. Wikipedia does also show that it's about 85 million box office.
Okay. I just, those numbers didn't add up, and I'm surprised the article didn't mention that, like, it was released a week early or whatever.
I mean, the way the article said, this weekend, it was 16.5 North America, another 36 million worldwide,
plus whatever
the
UK
total
did.
to 85. Well, I mean, the 36 million was that weekend worldwide, not the rest of the world total.
It said globally, Wonder Woman brought 1984 brought in 36.1 million from 42 markets this weekend.
Right.
Yeah.
So that
it made another 30
US,
million in the past week.
Yeah.
Plus anything before last week.
Yeah.
To get to the 85.
Yeah.
But yeah, Wonder Woman is getting a trilogy. There's going to be a trilogy, which is nice.
Which will be the first DC movie to get a trilogy.
Yeah. Hopefully it's all in the same universe.
I mean, I feel if they're keeping the actress and the director, they're going to try and keep it together. Just a bummer, like they can't get Chris Pine back a third time.
No.
Unless it's like a flashback to something, but at this point, like, there's not a whole lot of places you can flash back to.
Yeah. You can't, like, this whole movie was about her getting past that. Yeah. So if you bring him back, that negates this whole movie.
Though I read an interesting article. It's not even interesting. That's a lie right there. But it was it was it was like a shitty Screen Rant article, to be honest. Where they pointed out that a lot that, like, in this movie, Steve telling her that, like, she has to, like, move on. In their, like, last scene together was it kind of adds a little extra oomph to her shoving Bruce in Justice League when she is trying to tell him that he needs to move on from, like, his plan to bring back Superman. And Bruce says something like, "Oh, did Trevor tell you that?" Yeah. So I thought that was a funny thing.
Yeah. I also, to go back to the movie real quick, because it's just not something I really thought about when we were talking about it. It's so weird that Steve Trevor was Steve Trevor in somebody else's body.
Yeah, but, like, they didn't tell you that right away, so it was very confusing, because, like, Diana just knew who it was immediately.
She knew who it was after he gave her the watch and said, like, whatever he said at the end of Wonder Woman. But, like, I was just like, this is uncomfortable knowing that, like, yeah, in the whole movie you're seeing Chris Pine because that's who...
Man, you just got all of the Chris's confused right there, didn't you?
No, I said, yeah, maybe. Not all of them.
You started to say, like, 3 different names at once.
No, I said Chris Pine because I started to say Pratt, I think. Too many Chris's. But, like, it was just weird, and I kept feeling this throughout the whole movie. It's like, but that's not him. That's not his body. So you just banged some random guy that doesn't know who you are. Like, it's just weird.
It definitely is kind of weird.
Yeah.
Anyway, moving away from Wonder Woman related stuff.
Just real quick, gold is the 3rd most conductive metal there is.
Is it?
Yeah, only copper and silver are more conductive.
So I knew copper was, like, the most conductive, right? Or is silver the most?
Silver's the most. Literally all metals are conductive.
Okay.
It's just how conductive are they? like Mercury is very barely conductive by comparison to stuff, but all metals conduct.
Yeah.
For some reason, I thought that gold just wasn't very conductive, like that.
Nah, it's way up there.
Yeah, so that team makes even less sense. But so, did either of you guys happen to watch Soul, the Pixar movie?
Nah, Sarah and I might actually watch it when we're done this. We might watch it tomorrow.
I wanted to. I just completely forgot.
All right, so I'll avoid any spoilers. It's really good though. It's definitely worth checking out. I think I liked Onward better, the one that came out earlier this year.
Onward was so good.
Yeah, I liked Onward.
This one, as we were watching it, I'm just like, wow, this seems really weird for a Pixar movie. Like, if you don't know what it's about, the dude dies and isn't okay with that because he was just about to get his what he thought was his big break. He's a musician and he was about to get to play with like a famous jazz musician, and that's been his life's dream.
Yeah.
So he ends up, instead of going to what they call the Great Beyond, he goes to the Great Before, where like souls exist before they've become humans, to try and find his way back. Like that's I think that's literally on the synopsis when you read it off of like the Disney Plus page. But it seemed very kind of not dark, but just heavy. It seemed very heavy, and I started thinking back. I'm just like, oh no, that's what Pixar movies are. They're just all very heavy.
Yeah,
like they wrap them in like a shiny, colorful bow, but like all of their movies are about death and loneliness and sadness and destruction.
Yeah.
So like this fits 100%.
Onward was about brother, like growing with your brother and forming a relationship with him and getting over the loss of your father. Up was about trying to realize your dream and getting over the loss of your wife. Like, it's all heavy.
Cars was about realizing that you weren't the best car in the garage anymore.
Maybe not all of it, but a lot of it is.
Saratouille was about learning that rats can cook too.
Well, I mean, Ratatouille is about not trying to pretend to be somebody you're not.
And honestly, I said this to Erica. Ratatouille, probably the most underrated Pixar movie.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely.
And it's just unfortunate it came out between like I want to say,
I think it came out after Up.
It was between WALL-E and something else. Like WALL-E came out right after it, and then something else came out right before. And like literally, when I was talking to Erica about this, I knew the movies. Like I just said off the top of my head, I'm like, yeah, I think it came out between like blank and blank, and now I can't think of them. Ratatouille. It came out between Cars and WALL-E.
Yeah, Cars and WALL-E. Yeah,
it came out between like after one of Pixar's biggest franchises, and before a movie that, at the time, people loved a whole lot. So I feel like it just kind of got forgotten in the middle there.
Yeah.
But yeah, so Soul, anyway. Really good cast, too. Like, Jamie Foxx, and I think it was right? Yeah, and Tina Fey's in it. Graham Norton, Questlove.
Yeah.
He plays a fucking drummer, too, which is funny.
Yeah.
But yeah, definitely, it's 110 minutes, I want to say. It's 101 minutes. Sorry. And definitely...
Richard Ayoade's in it, which is awesome. He's in the IT crowd.
Oh, okay. I just looked at him. I recognize that name. And yeah, like the way that they kind of like work with like what the afterlife is super interesting. And like, the movie doesn't necessarily have a villain, but it also kind of has a villain, if that makes any sense.
Yeah. I mean, I'm sure it'll make sense when I see it.
But yeah, definitely check it out, and yeah, we can talk about it next week.
Oh yeah, I will watch it before we record. And
I mean, Drew may also.
Yeah, pretty sure we.
One of the options for our Zoom party tomorrow is potentially just doing a video, like a viewing party. So Soul is definitely one of the options.
Nice, and at least it's like, as long as you have Disney Plus, like you have it, and if you don't have Disney Plus, it's only a $6 subscription, so it's not it's not like a $30 rental or something like that. The way some of like the VODs are.
Yeah.
But anyway, Rich, you got and started playing Hyrule War.
Yeah, so
Age of Calamity, right?
Yes, Age of Calamity. I played the demo, but I only played about an hour, so I didn't really get into it. And the demo, like, it went up to a point, which I don't know how far it went up to, because I stopped after getting a few missions in, because I didn't want to overload myself. And then I got it for Christmas, and so I've been playing a boatload of that. There's a lot to do in that game, and, like, it is long. I haven't looked up how many chapters it is, but I'm at this point on chapter 3. When I started playing, I was like midway through chapter 1, and I think I've loaded probably a good 6 to 10 hours, and I got to like the mid to end of chapter 3, and Link just got the sword, the Master Sword, and became the Link that you know. I just had my first big battle where you're playing as one character and you kill 1,000 things. And
how many characters have you unlocked so far?
So the 4 warriors, Zelda, Impa, Link, and Hetsu, actually. So that's 8.
Which one is Hetsu?
Remember who you had to give the little seeds to? The Korok seeds?
Yeah.
That's Hetsu.
Oh, like that big blob?
The big Korok dude. You fight with maracas. It's ridiculous. And like,
oh, that's kind of funny.
So like each character has like their normal attacks and then their strong attacks, and then if you hit R, they have something special. So for instance, if you're Link and you're using a sword and shield, he shoots a bow. If you're Link and you're using a spear or a long range weapon, he like dashes and attacks. And if you're using a 2-handed weapon as Link, he can eat food because the weapon is that, I think, yeah, he eats food because the 2-handed weapons, you can strengthen the attacks. No, just pressing Y, he eats food. Hitting the R, he strengthens the attacks and it takes away some damage. It takes some tick damage from you as you strengthen it. But like, Impa, you use R and she sends a mark onto somebody, then you have to hit them with Y to absorb the mark and have like clones of Impa fight with you. So you can do that up to 3 times and have 6 clones. Zelda, hers explode the powers that come out of the Sheikah slate that she uses. So like you can use an ability that leaves some ice and you hit R and it explodes the ice and deals damage. I'm not going to go through the rest, but they all have their own special R. And so Hetsu, you hit and hold R and he summons more Koroks to come fight with him. And then he just shakes his maracas and it does like AoE damage around him as he's shaking them. He's ridiculous. I literally just got him and he's kind of fun, but also awkward to play as. But like, he's so cool. And like, there's at one point I had to kill, there's a training mission for all the characters. When you get them, you get their training mission. So I did his and it's like, kill 300 enemies within a time frame. And I had 150 enemies still left to kill. So I just circled the battlefield and used his abilities to like pull them all in, and just normal attack killed all 150 in like one quick shot. He's great. The game, there's so much to do with like gathering things to make your characters stronger, doing all the side missions, and unlocking everything to unlock. Like I know people who got Age of Calamity at launch and are still playing it now, and there are people that play games as much as I do.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so it's like, and they might not have been playing Age of Calamity straight through, like, they might have played other games between then, or, like, jump back and forth, but, like, there are people that I know that still play Age of Calamity, and they play games. I'm hoping they, like, give some form of, like, replayability. Like, the original Hyrule Warriors had this whole, like, original Legend of Zelda map that you could go through that was kind of cool. After you did the storyline, but I don't know what it's going to be like in this, and it doesn't look like there's really anything at the moment, and there's no multiplayer because it's a Dynasty Warriors game. I don't think there's ever really been multiplayer.
Well, I thought those games did have multiplayer. They don't?
I don't remember. Like they would have some really good multiplayer in these games though, because like it would essentially be a MOBA that you would do, and like I for some reason I've been all about games like this, like Hyrule Warriors and even Avengers. If they were to have multiplayer, it would just be a really good MOBA, like more than anything else. Because like you would just have to go and take over the other enemy's base, and you'd have to clear and like have that tug of war of power and clearing what's like outposts. And as you clear them, your forces go take over that outpost, but then the enemies can clear them, and so it'd be like that full tug of war. Like I mean, there's no multiplayer in this. I haven't played Dynasty Warriors since like PlayStation 2, so I don't know if they really had a multiplayer since then. But I don't recall there ever being a multiplayer.
Yeah, I don't really remember there being like a versus player. I'm pretty sure a lot of them had like split screen co-op.
Yeah, they've always had co-op, and this does also have a co-op mode. You can just, while you're playing, you can just click the button to say set up for co-op. I'm assuming it's both couch and online, but I haven't really tried it. I know a few people that have it, but I haven't asked them if they wanted to try playing it yet. Cobb, you're gonna like this. I ended up buying a Pro Controller.
Finally,
it's about time.
I was playing, and it's more because my Joy-Cons are both of them, like all of them are kind of have issues, not just drift, but they all kind of have some sort of issues. And playing a game like that and getting in preparation for Monster Hunter, which I was going to get one for anyway, like I'm just like, I kind of need to get rid of not get rid of them, but either get them fixed or get a Pro Controller anyway. So I just, after playing a little bit on my Joy-Con grip, which this was the first game I felt it was kind of uncomfortable and too small on. Like, I don't think I've had a lot of majorly action-packed games on my Switch. So this is like the one where it really makes sense to like have a bigger, more comfortable controller on. So like I bought that and I've been using that to play. And it's a fun game. I really enjoy it. Like if you like those Dynasty Warriors style game, the Warriors games, and just like the all out just ridiculousness, like get it. One of my favorite combos to use is with Link. You hit YYX, and so it's like it's light strong basically. And his strong attack, he flips his shield onto the ground and slides and surfs on his shield and hits every enemy that he can in the way. I don't really like using the Goron guy, but if you just start dashing with him, he rolls, and as he rolls, he deals damage to enemies because he's so big. But like,
well, I can understand not wanting to play as like that sort of character, but at least that's a useful.
Yeah, like it's me personally. I don't like playing. He's slow, and like his abilities are cool. So like, if you use the strong attack, he pops like rocks out of the ground, and then the R will explode the rocks. But like, he's just too clunky and big, and I'm just not a fan of his playstyle. Rosolio, the bird guy. He's not really that fun to play with either, and he uses a bow and arrow. He's got faster attacks, but like on the ground, he has like basic combos, and then his special ability, he jumps up and flies in the air, and then you have combos from just you hit Y and he just shoots a volley of arrows out. It's like 4 or 5 arrows that spread. And then, depending on how many times you hit Y and then hit X, he'll do a strong attack. But like 3 Ys and an X, he fires a bomb arrow, but you can't start aiming it right away. It takes a second before you actually can start moving the cursor. So, like, if you just killed the enemies in front of you before you hit X, you actually have to, like, it slows combat down and kind of takes you out of it a bit. Or my most used combo with him is, I believe, 4 Ys and an X. He does like a dash that calls a tornado down. But at the end of the combo, he's on the ground. So then you have to jump up into the air again and then start hitting the Ys. I think his best combo that I don't use often enough because I always overhit is 2 Ys and an X, followed by another X where he shoots out like a volley of wind that like explodes. It's really cool, but I always hit too much. So like whenever I'm doing missions with him, I tend to just use Y and just shoot everything I can in the range, and he's like kind of boring. But like
I can get that.
Yeah. But like a lot of the other characters, like Impa's one of my favorite. Link, the fact that he has multiple different weapons types that he can use is really cool. And now that I have the Master Sword, like when he has full health, he actually gets that ranged attack. So like now it pushes me to make sure not to get hit more often as Link, because I want to be able to like shoot the wind every time I attack with my sword. Imp is cool. Zelda, I'm getting a little bit more used to, but I hope she gets better.
The little bit I saw of her thing, like her power, excuse me, her stuff just seems kind of weird and like it might be difficult to deal with.
It is. Like, I tried running a mission with her that's a time trial boss run, and I couldn't get past the first area, the first boss, because her abilities are so slow. Because she attacks using the Shikai Slate, and so she'll, like, her first attack will be, her first Y attack will be, she pulls just a block out from the air and uses magnesis and swings it back and forth. And then her second Y attack, what is her second one? I can't remember what her second one is. She might, like, pop up some ice or something. And then her third Y attack, she'll use a quick stasis, and that, like, hurts the enemies. But it doesn't last too long for you to actually be able to hit them a lot. Or, like, if you hit Y or X and nothing else, she pops up for, ice things. If you hit X again, she pops up 3 more, and she can run up them. And as she runs up them, she deals an area of effect damage. But then she's standing up there, and, like, if you can time it right and hold B and then blow them up, she'll pull out her paraglider, and then you can attack from the air, which she's a little bit better with. But I haven't really been able to get that, like, button pressing down in the quick Dynasty Warriors style that, like, you need to, like, just keep going. Especially in, like, a time trial thing like that, where you only have 3 minutes to kill a boss before you have only another 3 minutes to kill another boss.
That's understandable.
Yeah, but it is a good game. It's a lot of fun if you enjoy like Dynasty Warriors style games, or just want like a mindless hack and slash type thing. This is definitely like there's enough content in it where I don't think you'd be disappointed at even paying full price for it.
Well, I mean, I would be, but that's just me.
That's why I said if you like a hack and slash Dynasty Warriors type game, like. If you don't like these type of games, then yeah, you probably wouldn't like it. But if you like these types of games with the amount of content and everything in it, it's worth a buy.
That's good.
And the story is pretty good so far. It's interesting.
Which is not something you often hear from a Zelda game.
I mean, I thought it was good in Breath of the Wild. Like, I thought what was shown and what was given to you and how it was done was really good in Breath of the Wild. And I've been looking forward to this one as well as Breath of the Wild 2, because, like, I want to see how this whole world is, like, how everything begins and ends. Like, while playing Hyrule Warriors, I'm like, I think I might replay Breath of the Wild. Just because I really like that game, and, like, this game gets me into the feel to play that one.
That's understandable.
Mm-hmm.
That is definitely understandable.
Yeah, so that's about all I've got on Hyrule Warriors. Somebody wanted to talk about Cyberpunk for some reason?
Yeah, I got Cyberpunk for Christmas.
I'm sorry.
It's not that bad, and I apologize, the dogs are barking.
That's fine.
I don't know if that's getting picked up or not.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, actually, before I talk about Cyberpunk, just like a quick aside, I read all of the Boruto manga.
Mm-hmm.
It's not that bad compared to the fucking TV show.
It's generally, like, because it's a Shonen Jump anime, they release it every week and let the fillers catch up to it, and that causes them to be not that good. So usually the mangas are a lot better.
So it's a bigger problem than just that, because they decided not to do like the season route the way that like My Hero does it, where like My Hero releases 24 episodes a season and then takes the rest of the year off. Where that new chapters either come out weekly or bi-weekly.
Mm-hmm.
Boruto is monthly, 1 chapter a month.
It's only monthly?
Yeah. So just like the Dragon Ball Super manga, 1 chapter a month. So there's only, it was either 53 or 63 chapters. And they are up to 200 episodes. And that show launched either before or immediately after the manga started.
Mm-hmm.
So like there was no time for like them to get a story going in the manga. And because it's still technically based off of that, the show can't actually have character development. So what this show, and I remember I talked about this briefly like a year ago when I tried watching the show. The first like 30 or something episodes, maybe more, are like pre-manga. Like it's before the manga starts. Because the manga starts where the movie started, which is basically the Chunin exam.
Yeah.
So the show has a bunch of episodes before that where like they haven't even graduated yet. Like there's like 10 to 15 episodes of them still in the Ninja Academy. And then they graduate, and then like there's a chunk of episodes of them like doing ninja stuff. None of it's actually canon though.
Mm-hmm.
And then you hit the point where it was the movie and the start of the manga, and you have that arc. And then there's 150 more episodes that aren't in the manga, and they've just now apparently like around episode 200 gotten back to the story that's happening in the book right now.
Yeah.
And like reading through the story in the book, like the character of Boruto in the show is awful because they can't have him grow up at all. So he's just a whiny little bitch for 200 fucking episodes, or at least the first 100 of them.
Yeah.
Like there's nothing to like about him in the series. He's a brat. He sucks. In the book though, like within those 60 chapters, like, he changes. He becomes less shitty. Like, basically the whole show up to episode 100 is him bitching about his dad never being around.
Yeah.
That's only happens in the very beginning of the fucking book, because he gets over that real fucking quick when he realizes that his dad is around. He's just protecting their whole fucking village.
Yeah.
But, like, also, like, the story just keeps moving, and it's actually interesting, whereas the stuff they were doing in the manga, or I'm sorry, in the anime, wasn't.
Yeah.
So it's just a bummer, because that means that show is just going to go on and on and on, and because it airs year-round, weekly, it's never going to have, like, a substantial chunk to, like, tell that's, like, quote-unquote canon.
Yeah, it's the same thing that happened with Bleach. It's the same thing that happened with the original Naruto. Like, it's what happens with One Piece. Like, it's going to keep going and going and have thousands of episodes, and only half of them or less are going to actually be worthwhile.
It's worse than that, though, because at least those shows, like, those books were coming out weekly, so they could do, you know, a season's worth of episodes and then have a chunk of story to tell that was canon. In this case, they can't. Like,
I'm surprised that it's weekly or that it's monthly and not weekly.
So, I don't know if it'll ever change or not, but Kishimoto, the guy who did Naruto, he did not work on this book originally. He was like a plot supervisor or something like that. But he was working on a different book that ended back in, like, the summer. It didn't last very. And apparently he is going to be taking over, like, the main writing duties on Boruto, coming up in the next month. So I don't know if the book will change schedule, if the writing and the plot will change much, but it's possible. But yeah, that show just has no hope of ever being good, because it can never actually develop its characters.
Yeah.
Like, they just introduced like the secondary main character, basically, as far as, like, the younger generation goes. Like, 200 episodes in, he's introduced in, like, chapter 17. Like,
yeah,
that's insane.
It is.
I will give the show a little bit of credit. I think it does a better job characterizing the other kids and actually gives you a chance to, like, see who the other kids are. Because so far, like, the manga, because it is monthly and it stays pretty focused on what it's doing. There's chapters here and there where, like, you see some of the other, like, kids of, like, the others, but not much of them. And even, like, outside of, like, Naruto and Sasuke, you don't see a whole lot, and like, Shikamaru, you don't see a whole lot of, like, the previous generation either. Yeah. Whereas, like, the show actually used them a whole bunch because they had nothing else to do.
Yeah.
But yeah, so Cyberpunk, 2077.
I apologize.
No, I mentioned it, like, a week or two ago. I wanted to try the game, and, like, I'm not playing it on a base PS4. I'm playing it on the Series X. So it actually runs fine. It is just a buggy mess.
Well, that's the problem now. Like, well, not now, but, like, a lot of people that do have it on a next-gen console are, like, they're still running into game-breaking buggy issues that, like, you can't continue playing.
See, I haven't seen as many people having game-breaking bugs on PC and next-gen as much as they were having those on, like, your Series or your One X and your PS4 Pro and prior.
I mean, there was someone in the Giant Bomb group, at least, like, that week after it came out, that shared their error report screen from their PS5 that was, like, 20 straight crashes of that fucking game.
Oh, yeah, no, I mean, look, it had happened, but, like, in the last, like, week or so, I haven't seen as much of that.
I think everyone's just fucking stopped playing it.
But, like,
I think that's more the thing.
I see plenty of people talking about it on Twitter and saying that it's broken, but they're having fun with it. And, like, honestly, like, it's a pretty cool game. Like, if you don't have either, like, a high-end PC or the next-gen console, it's definitely not worth buying it. But, like, I haven't had any actual issues where, like, I couldn't, like, progress through anything. I just have, like weird, stupid shit happens. Like, in the opening of the game, you're driving, and I'm driving down the road, and there's these two guys in the middle of the road that I think maybe they were supposed to be on, like, a car or on, like, a motorcycle, but they're just kind of floating in the middle of the and then when I drive up to them, they start shooting me. And, like, there was one point where, like your sidekick character that seems to go on, at least in the beginning of the game, he goes on all the he's eating, like, some Chinese food out of, like, the cardboard container with chopsticks, and every so often he has the chopsticks in his hand the whole time, but every so often he'll dip in to, like, get food, and he'll pull food up, but then a second set of chopsticks will stay in the food while the other set is going to his mouth for him. Yeah, like just like I've had a bunch of like weird stuff like that happen, like clipping and like items kind of like floating where there shouldn't be items or like stuff like that. Some like audio bugs where like the voiceover wasn't coming but the subtitles. But otherwise like it plays like, and it like I said, it's actually super interesting. The world's really really cool. The character creator is a little too detailed.
Mm-hmm.
Like they weren't lying. Like there are like 15 options for penises in that game.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And that's before you get to like size. There's also like 5 or 6 different types of nipples you can pick from and all sorts of other weird stuff. But they don't let you get granular with things that like, so when it comes to eye color, they have like a bunch of options. So like you could just like change the color of the eye, but then they also have options for like patterns and stuff like that. So you could do like cat eyes or like all black eyes or eyes with actual like a white and green checker pattern or something like that.
Yeah.
And some of them are really cool, but I would have liked to have been able to actually change the colors on them. Like rather than having like the cat eye where it's like just like white and yellow, like change like the yellow to be a different color or make it black and yellow or like that. But you can't do that. Like all that stuff is just kind of set. I also found out that you can't change your appearance at all after the fact, which seems counterintuitive to what the game is about.
Yeah, that's silly. Like, and that's like I don't get like why let you choose dick and dick size, but like you don't get to choose primary and secondary color in your like that's silly. Like I'm assuming equally to what your eye color, your dick size has nothing to do with the main part of the game. Like,
I mean, not that you can run around naked if you want to.
And honestly, this is like not even with all the bug. Like this is just like it lowers my interest more and more about this game.
But I mean, so like you don't actually even see your character because it's all first person, which I think honestly that game would be better in third person. But like the only time you see your character is on the character screen where like you're doing your armor and everything.
Which like makes it even less useful to have like a super in-depth character customization screen.
Yeah, no, I mean I agree. Like it's weird that it's so in depth when you only see the character then or when you're looking in a mirror.
Yeah, because like, if I remember correctly, like the Fallout games have like a third person option. Like you can click a button and it'll go third person as well as first person.
I know Skyrim does. I don't know about Fallout.
Fallout does.
Yeah.
You fucking do not want to play those games that way, though.
It looks terrible because the world is moving around you. You're not moving around the world. But you still get to look at your character if you do that. Whereas a game like this, where dick size is a big deal,
and it's not a big deal.
I mean, it could be a small deal if you want it to be. It doesn't matter. But like, if you're gonna have if you're not gonna have a third-person camera view to be able to see the little or small dick that you gave yourself when you're running around naked, that why even add it in? Like,
but like you can be a character with a big dick and big boobs, but no nipple.
But if I'm not able to look at my character model while playing, why does it matter?
I mean, yes, exactly. Also, like all of your clothing and armor options like don't really matter because you don't see them other than like it doesn't actually matter if your character looks cool. Like I found a bunch of armor that's like head stuff that all of it looks really stupid, but I can't see the character and it adds defense. So it's like, well, I'm gonna fucking add you because I'm gonna die a little less quickly.
Yeah.
But yeah, like this game should definitely be a third person cover game, if anything. Like it controls fine in first person. Honestly though, like the shooting combat is not good. I feel like the player character is very not resilient to bullets, and the enemies are to an unreasonable amount. And it might just be too that like the aiming isn't very good. So if you're trying to aim down sights, it removes any sort of indication of where you're actually firing, and it's hard to tell actually looking down the sights because a lot of games will still keep like a little reticle at the end so that you can kind of tell if you're lined up on the enemy correctly.
Yeah.
Like this one doesn't. So unless you have put a different scope onto your weapon, it's really hard to tell if you're actually aiming at somebody if they're like a distance away from you. Whereas if you're just shooting from the hip, essentially, you have like a big crosshair on your screen that you can actually use to line it up. But your shots, the throw of the gun just kind of like goes all over the place, so it's harder to actually keep that like consistently on the guy.
Yeah.
But like I've gone through, I can whack somebody with a baseball bat 3 times and they're dead. It takes 2 clips of fucking assault rifle ammo to take them down though.
Jeez.
Yeah, like it doesn't make a lot. Like I just did like one of the early like bigger missions where I had to go through like this warehouse thing, and at a certain point I just stopped using guns. I just ran around with a bat and I just charged at the enemies that were shooting at me and beat them with a bat till they were dead.
That's like, do the guns have stats or are the guns just guns?
They have stats, and like I keep putting like guns with better stats on there, and they still don't seem to do like the shooting is just not great, but like the melee combat is decent. So like I'm looking forward to later on getting like actual melee weapons that aren't just a fucking wooden baseball bat. Because I feel like that combat will actually be fun. Because like there's a little like side quest thing where you're basically going around and entering fight clubs for money. And like I just did the first set of those, and you have to fight. So it's twin brothers who decided they wanted to be stronger. So they basically had their consciousness like merged into just one being that controls both bodies. So they're not brothers anymore. They're just one person, but in 2 different bodies simultaneously. But they can move independently, which is really fucking weird. But you basically have to have a fist fight with both of them at the same time, and that was actually like a challenge and interesting combat because you had to remember how to block and how to like sidestep at the right times and block at the right times to try and counter, because there's 2 of them. So
yeah,
and it's first person, which makes it even harder because you don't necessarily know if somebody's coming up behind you.
Yeah,
but yeah, the gun combat is not very. I do like the world though. The world seems super interesting. I'm like 5.5 hours in, which definitely isn't very far. Night City is still basically locked down to just like one district at the moment.
Yeah.
There's literally a lockdown going on right now, so I can't leave the district. But they've introduced me to like a bunch of characters. I'm supposed to go on this like big heist for this super rich guy and steal a thing from him. That's literally like the next story mission I have. So, but yeah, like it's definitely buggy and there's definitely problems with it, but I haven't seen any of the actual problems. And frankly, like they're gonna keep like the game came out in such a mess. They're gonna keep patching it until it's functional, the same way that like other companies have done in the past. So like yeah. I'm not worried about the game like being. I'm being cautious too. I'm making multiple saves and kind of staggering so that this way, if I do hit a point where like the game just completely breaks, I have a prior save to that, even if I have to redo a little bit of the, and I'll just wait until it gets patched.
Hopefully it doesn't get over 8 megs.
Oh, right. There's something that happens if your save gets too big, right?
It corrupts and is gone. It's fucked.
Yeah. Really?
Yep.
That's insane.
I mean, 8 megs is a lot of saving, too, or it should be at least. But I'm only keeping 2 saves, so it's not like I'm keeping, like, an exaggerated amount of them. I also feel like they're going to have to patch that, like, sooner rather than... Like, they're going to have to fix that shit.
And, like, I'm super interested in that game, but not till... Like, I wasn't going to get it till the proper next-gen version came out anyway. And then, having heard the stories of all the nightmare amount of bugs, I'm out on it until that proper next-gen version comes out.
Yeah, which, I mean, definitely makes sense. Like, don't waste your money on something that might be broken if you're not interested in it.
Yeah.
It was a thing that, like, I had said I wanted before it released. And so Erica got it for me for Christmas. And, like, I still wanted it going into that. Like, it wasn't like, this game is apparently really bad. I don't want it anymore.
Yeah.
It was just a matter of, like, all right, well, it might be a little broken. I might not be able to play the whole thing up front. But
yeah,
it'll get there.
I mean, I've never really fed into the hype for this game. I've just kind of been like, blah, whatever. I don't really care. As far as I know, I don't think I've ever really played a CD Projekt Red game ever.
I mean, have you played The Witcher games?
No.
Then no, you haven't.
So that's like, I don't really know anything about them. So I just like, and even at this point, like, after hearing all this stuff, even hearing you say like it's interesting and fun, I'm just like, there's just enough silly like gameplay aspects to it that I don't understand why, that I'm just like, oh, if it's ever free or really, 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 really cheap, maybe, if I have nothing else to do at that time. But probably I'm over it. I've been over it.
See, I really liked The Witcher. Like, I thought that game was really good. And like honestly, like I see this game actually being really good too once they kind of like work everything out. Because, like, so far, other than just, you know, the weird, like, clippy bugginess, like, I haven't had any actual issues. And I have spent more time looking at menus and trying to, like, set up different, of, like, the cybernetic things, that different hacking stuff you can do, than I normally would in one of these games, because it actually adds a little bit of depth to it. More so than, like, some games where it's like, all right, well, let me just put on the armor that has the next biggest, at least early game. Because, like, early game, that's usually all you're looking at. You're not being like, oh, well, this one is, like, a point lower, but it gives me this benefit. Like, that's late game stuff. Mm-hmm. Early game, it's like, well, this one is 15 and this one is 18. I'm going to put the 18.
Yeah.
But, like, in this case, I'm like, oh, well, I have a mod that I can put on this gun, but do I want to put it on this gun? Because this gun doesn't seem that good. I'm probably going to get a better one soon.
Yeah.
Plus, like, all this, like, you can do a lot of cool cybernetic stuff in that game. Like, early on, so when the game first starts, you don't know how much ammo you have.
Mm-hmm.
It's not until you go to this doctor and he basically gives you, like cybernetic implants in your hand, that you then get ammo and what gun you have out in your HUD. Because basically, like, the implant is reading the data off of the gun.
Yeah.
Is the way it's explained. But, like, he also gives you, like, cybernetic eyes and it makes everything look a little, like, brighter at first. But it gives you more details on things, so, like, you can scan things and, like, see, like, is it a person? Are they wanted? Are they civilian? Like, are they a cop? Are you going to have trouble taking them down if you try to take them down? And basically anything in a room, if it's electronic, you can hack it and use it for something.
Yeah.
Like, if it's, like, a radio or a TV or something, you can use it just to turn it on to, like, distract somebody. If it's a camera, you can either disable it so you can get by it, you can take it over so that you can actually use it to, like, scan a room, or you can use it to, like, somehow, like, disrupt the enemies. So, and, like, there's like turrets and stuff like that too that you can do that with. So, like, there's a lot going on in that game that you kind of have to read and pay attention to and make sure that you're putting, like, skill points in the right places if that's the sort of gameplay you want to go with.
Yeah.
But yeah, like, I mean, 5 hours, I'm enjoying it so far. Like, I see why the people that do like it are saying that they like it. But I also, like, with the bugs I've seen, I can understand, like, with the level of bad that those have gotten to, why people that, like, don't have, like, one of the newer consoles or a PC, like, would want a refund and don't want to play it.
Yeah.
Frankly, like, this is definitely one of those games that should have just never been released on last gen.
Yeah.
Like,
Mm-hmm.
I realized it was originally supposed to launch earlier, but this summer they should have just said, hey, this game is not coming together the way we wanted it to on the current gen. It's not coming out to December now. It is only going to come out on PS5, Xbox Series X, and PC.
Yeah.
Like, yep, that sucks. You're going to lose pre-orders, but you probably would have had a more playable game.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Because at that point, like, you figure, yes, you lose pre-orders, but how much bad press and refunds are you having to deal with instead?
More.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Anyway, before we get into the end of this show, we're going to do the weekly Kaiju. Rich, you watched Godzilla versus Gigan?
Yes.
I don't know how to pronounce that.
It's Gigan. In my opinion, probably second best movie so far.
It would be the best.
It's tied for first, I would say, actually, with Destroy All Monsters. Like, Destroy All Monsters was the weird one that took place in the end of the 20th century, basically in the year 1999. And it was all the monsters versus Ghidorah, basically. This one, it was Godzilla vs. Gigan. It was good. Gigan was awesome. It brought back Ghidorah for some reason, so I'm assuming if there's a timeline, this movie might take place prior to Destroy All Monsters, because Destroy All Monsters killed Ghidorah. Like, the human storyline was good, and it was in, like, that Godzilla fashion of all these older movies where, like, Godzilla doesn't take the main focal point, and is kind of like he's there, but he's not there the whole movie. And, like, they're, like, he's doing his thing while the humans are doing their thing, and they coincide. And it's, like, so basically what's going on is, a race of, sentient space cockroaches that are, like, human size are trying to take over the planet because their planet was overrun and destroyed due to pollution. So here's the story, or here's the message that they're trying to send out is...
So another pollution one?
Well, the message is like protect the world from pollution. Pollution is going to destroy everything, but it's not a pollution monster this time, like in Hedora. And so they come up with the idea to make like a Godzilla theme park basically, and their main tower is a Godzilla tower, which ends up housing a laser strong enough to kill and stop Godzilla. Humans find out. The main characters find out. I can't remember their names. And they're basically investigating it because the female lead's brother has been kidnapped by them and she hasn't seen them. So they try to figure out like where her brother is, and they have to stop these alien bugs that like at one point as these people are dying, they just get like real life cockroaches and put them really up close on film to make them look huge. One of the ridiculous things is they started using a lot of stock footage from previous Godzilla movies, like Destroy All Monsters. When Godzilla was fighting Ghidorah, it was the same scenes. It was Godzilla and Anguirus versus Ghidorah and Gigan. And any of the battle and fight scenes with Anguirus with Ghidorah and Godzilla with Ghidorah were basically the same scenes from Destroy All Monsters.
Like, actually?
Yeah, so, like, the scene where Godzilla in Destroy All Monsters is basically killing Ghidorah by stomping on his neck, and he's bleeding out through his mouth, like, that was in this film. The scene where...
That's kind of funny.
Anguirus chomps on one of the other necks of Ghidorah, and Ghidorah flies up, and like shakes him down, and he crashes onto the ground and then comes out of his little crater that he makes from crashing on the ground. That was all like scene for scene or bit by bit in this film. So like I don't know if like it's budgetary reasons or whatever, but like they started reusing, and I don't think it was in Gigan, but there might have been another one where they started reusing, or this might be the first one unless it was in All Monsters Attack, which I didn't watch. They have started reusing old film reels or old scenes from previous movies. There's just so many of them, and I guess it's cheaper to use old scenes in these monster fights than like simulate Anguirus chomped onto Ghidorah while he's flying again. But like you get to experience Anguirus walking around on his hands and knees again, which is just silly to me. That like he's a quadrupedal creature that has legs of like somebody who would be bipedal, but he walks around on his knees and not on his back feet. And then Gigan himself is just like, he's like this futuristic bug-looking thing with blades on his arms. And he's really cool, and he's like kind of terrifying as well. Like I like what they did with him. And during like the main final battle scene, there's a lot of explosions, a lot of like sparks flying that and there were even times where like Gigan has a buzzsaw on his chest, so he like flew up into the air, started his buzzsaw, flew across Godzilla, who then just started to bleed profusely, like a lot of blood.
Do they normally bleed a lot in these?
It wasn't. They didn't start having blood until Destroy All Monsters, and I don't think there was any blood in Hedora. I can't remember, but there was a decent amount of blood in this. Like it was kind of like a Bleach style blood spray coming out of Godzilla's side when he was hit with this buzzsaw that scraped across him. It was nuts. A lot more than I expected from a 1973 movie or something. But there was one scene, and I mentioned this last week, where Godzilla's on the ground and he's trying to shake, and you can already see his the scales from his suit are flapping around and like coming apart from, I'm assuming, all the sparks and fire that's going on the set. That he also lifts his arm, and in his armpit you can see the fluff of his costume starting to come out. I'm assuming this is the last time they used that Godzilla costume for these.
So did they use the same costume for multiple movies?
I mean, I believe they do, but he tends to change a little bit. Like, it'll be like his eyes or his face will change, but the rest of his body will generally stay the same, or at least the same color, so they don't have to like. Maybe his spike pattern will change a little bit. I've talked about this before. There's a YouTube video. It's an animated YouTube video. I think it's 10-15 minutes long about the evolution of Godzilla throughout all the movies, and it goes through like even the minor differences through each one, and like all the costumes besides his face tended to be the same.
Okay.
It was like coloring wise, and like you don't see a difference in scale pattern, but like the back spikes maybe, or the face, like the eyes might be closer or further or wider or smaller. The snout might be more fox-like or dog-like or whatever as well. But generally like the main body part is usually about the same. But yeah, it was a very enjoyable movie. The one of the first that I can recall, I didn't really start to fall asleep while watching. Like sometimes like, and I'm not like it. I don't know if it's just I'm usually just tired or the time of day that I'm watching it, or like the progression of the movie is kind of slow. But like even during Destroy All Monsters, like my eyes would close for a little bit and then I would open it. Or Invasion of Astro Monster, like for like a few seconds, I would feel like I kind of fell asleep for like 10 seconds and then woke up. But like this one, like I was in it the whole way and I was like loving it. I was loving every second. And it was good. And like, again, like I said, my opinion, probably one of the like the one of the better of the Godzilla movies so far in this list. And like it didn't move. Like I was reading online and people were saying, "Oh, it moved too slow," and I'm like, "Yeah, I don't think it moved too slow. I think it moved at just the right pace. Like it was like Godzilla moved too slow, and I felt bad for Anguirus because like he walked from Monster Island swam from Monster Island to Japan just to be attacked by humans because they didn't want him attacking. So he went all the way back to Monster Island to tell Godzilla. And then Godzilla and Anguirus went back to Japan to defend. And it was like, I felt so bad for him. He swam so much. But yeah, the monsters actually started talking to each other. But they have this weird, like, squeak. And, like, it wasn't them, like, actually talking, like, in Japanese. It was like I can't even explain it, but it was a squeak. And then a speech bubble would come out on the side. And in Japanese, it would be written down what they're saying and subtitled for American audience.
Okay.
Yeah.
So have you watched any more of these dubbed, or have you been sticking to subtitled?
I think I've only seen 2 of them dubbed. And
I think one of them you had to, right? It was the Kong vs. Godzilla?
Well, both of them were... like Kong vs. Godzilla, because that was on YouTube, and it was like, I guess the American version put on YouTube. I think somebody just uploaded it and no one's taken it down. And I believe it was... Invasion of Astro Monster, I believe, was also in English.
Okay, so most of them know you've been watching subtitled.
But yeah, they've all been subtitled. It's whatever's on HBO, whatever's on HBO Max.
I've never looked into to see what HBO Max actually had.
I don't know if I can set it to be what's it called? I don't know if I can set them to be like dubbed or whatever. I would rather not.
Probably not. Like, I don't know if all of those were dubbed.
They probably all were, but probably just poorly.
Yeah, because I mean, that was always the kind of joke people had, was like, those were not good.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, the Godzilla vs. Gigan was great. My next movie, I'm super excited about. It's one I've been looking forward to. I want to double check. It should be Godzilla vs. Megalon, which has Jet Jaguar in it. I've been talking about it every time we talk about this, that I really want to watch that one. Jaguar.
That one looks like it's the right one.
Yeah. I just need to check. I want to just double check the Wikipedia, just in case there's like something in between. Yeah.
And it does also include Gigan.
Yeah, Gigan's in it. Anguirus is in it. Megalon, which is one of the figures. The figure, he's got like drills on his arms and has like kind of like hair across his headpiece. And then, but like I believe Gigan, Anguirus, and Rodan, they're all stock footage from what I've read.
Really?
Or at least Anguirus and Rodan are probably stock footage. I don't know about Gigan, but like Megalon's brand new. Jet Jaguar, I think this is the first and only film he's ever been in.
Now, is that character from something else? Because I know you said he was something like Ultraman, right?
He looks like Ultraman. He straight up looks like Ultraman. If you look up Jet Jaguar, he looks like Ultraman. But he is a robot that can grow and shrink. And the movie is more about him and less about Godzilla. But, like, I remember seeing that back when I was a kid on Sci-Fi that, like, I was like, I always loved it. I was like, oh, man, I always thought it was Ultraman. Because, like, I didn't know back then. And then, like, now I'm just like, oh, I can't wait to see this one and, like, hopefully enjoy it. But, it's also kind of bittersweet because after Megalon, I've got 2 more films in the Showa era, and I'm done the original era of Godzilla.
And then you might not be able to...
I mean, I know I can at least do the 3 from 2016 and beyond because they're all on Netflix. 3 of the 4 from 2016 and beyond because they're all on Netflix. They're the shitty animated ones, though. And I can do the legendary ones because they're on HBO Max. But yeah, a majority of the rest of them all of them from 84 to 2016 are not on any streaming services. So I might have to actually purchase them or rent them. I don't think there's any box sets of them. Most of them...
that Criterion page that Drew found last week didn't have the other eras. It stopped at the last one of this era.
Well, yeah, because they're in the Criterion collection. Like, it is a full-on collection of all the Godzilla movies. Whereas, like, the Return of Godzilla in 84, the first of the new era, is Kraken releasing. Godzilla vs. Biollante, which I really want to watch, is Miramax. Then the rest of them, even from 91 until 2004, they're all Sony Pictures Home Entertainment.
Okay.
Yeah. And then, like, Shin Godzilla, which I'm really interested in, is Funimation, but it's a live-action Funimation film.
Oh, that's weird. I didn't know they did that.
Yeah, and it's super weird and freaky. Godzilla's crazy, and he starts off as this little tadpole thing and, like, evolves, and I think this is probably one of the first movies in a long time where he's flat out the villain in that movie.
Okay.
Yeah. Not villain, but, like, he's the issue. Like, he's just attacking the world.
They're trying to stop Godzilla.
They're trying to stop him. And from what I've read, like, he's a creature that constantly evolves. And there was supposed to be, like, this whole big overarching story with Shin Godzilla where he eventually just takes over the whole universe. But like, they didn't pull it. They didn't go that far with it.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I guess, do you guys want to do the best things that happened in 2020?
If we can figure them out, yeah.
Yeah, sure.
Did either of you actually, like, write 5 things down?
I did.
I did as well.
Did you rank them, or did you just write 5 things down?
I just, yeah, there's no particular rank for these. They're just like 5 of the better things that happened this year. Like, not even necessarily top 5, but, like, they're the 5 things that I can think of right now that, like didn't suck about this year.
All right. And then, do either of you have any honorable mentions?
I have one.
All right, go ahead. Do your honorable mention first.
My honorable mention, just because I just personally didn't want to throw it into the list, and I mostly use it as an upgrade right now, is the PS5. And I mostly use it as an upgraded PS4. I don't have a lot of games for it. It is awesome, and I love it, but I didn't want to include it in the main list itself. Like, if there were more games out for it that I had, maybe I would have included it as a full-on thing itself, but I was just like, I kind of just use it as an upgraded PS4, right?
That's understandable.
Yeah.
So that was... Yeah.
Yeah. I feel like any other year, there probably would have just been more games out this time of year.
Yeah.
And you probably would have had it on the list. But,
yeah, maybe.
Yeah, I can definitely understand that. Drew, did you have any honorable mentions?
Yeah, I have 2, because they're things that technically didn't come out this year, but I just played them for the first time this year.
That's fair.
One is Among Us, which pretty much nobody played before this year anyway.
Yeah, yeah. Makes sense.
And I've only played it really for a few hours, but it was hilarious. Great.
Yeah. Look, if Among Us
ahead.
can be in the Game Awards and won a 2020 award when it came out 3 years ago, then you can have it in your 2020 things that didn't suck.
Yeah. And the other is Tetris Effect.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
That is a good Tetris game.
Yeah, it's an amazing Tetris game.
I'm not good at it, but it's real good.
And an amazing soundtrack. And I look forward to playing Connected when that comes to PlayStation.
Yeah, like, I am actually, when that eventually comes to PlayStation, I will probably buy it. I will probably buy it on a sale. Because $40 for Tetris that I'm not good at is still a little steep.
Yeah,
but,
it's definitely a little much. But
especially when, like, I played the single player on Xbox already. So, But like the multiplayer like portion of it just seems really cool. Like I like what they did with the multiplayer.
Yeah.
What was your? Oh, that was your second one.
Yeah,
Sorry.
that was my 2. Yeah.
Right. So I also had 2 honorable mentions. I have Animal Crossing: New Horizons.
Okay.
Because I feel like that was a really good thing to come out when it came out.
Yeah.
Like it gave people a way to sort of like interact with friends, and kind of gave people a reason to like communicate with friends.
It as crazy as this may sound, it gave people reasons to wake up in the morning because they had something to do.
Yeah, because like there was one Sunday not long after it came out where Erica and I were both playing, and I forget if we went either Matt or Jess's island or they came to one of ours. But like we were doing that, and we ended up just jumping on like a voice call with them on like Facebook Messenger, and just like chatting with Matt and Jess for like, I don't know, 2 hours, 2.5 hours, and it was like, you know, late morning us, but it was like late night for them.
Yeah.
And like that was just cool because like they're on the other side of the world.
Yeah.
And then like I mean like we had that group chat going for like it was people were regularly in there for 3 months chatting about the game.
Yeah, it honestly lasted a lot longer than I was expecting.
Yeah. Exactly.
And like I feel like if Sarah hadn't gotten the game as late as she did, it probably would have died out a lot sooner.
Actually, yeah, like you might be right because her kind of coming into it like new after everyone had sort of like maxed everything out gave people the reason to be like, okay, well, like I'll hop on and like send you some stuff.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Like you haven't experienced this yet. Like let's help you get to where you need to be.
Yeah, exactly.
And then my other honorable mention was Tell Me Why, the Don't Nod game from that released over the summer.
Mm-hmm.
I just think it was just a really good follow up for them from the first Life is Strange. And granted, they've had other games since then, but like I've only played their first Life is Strange one. And I think that that is the first game that nailed how an episodic game should work. Like they released it within a couple weeks of each other, which arguably like you could definitely space them out a little bit more, but a lot of times these episodic games, like 5 episodes take a year to come out, and that's too much time between episodes to the point where like I don't remember what happened in the last one. Like, do I care to play the next one at this point? And a lot of people are like that to the point where they just wait until the game's out entirely to play it. But this one is like, oh well, it came out like every 2 weeks for the span of a month or so, and that was perfect spacing for a 10-ish hour game. I think it was. I think it was like 3 to 4 hours per chapter, and it was 3 chapters. Plus, it was a really well done game. Like the characters were compelling, the story was interesting. Like I wanted to actually find all the little secrets in it.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah. But Rich, since you did the first honorable mention, what is the first real thing on your list?
The first real thing, is kind of just like a thing for me, is my rediscovery of my love-hate relationship with Legos, and stuff like that. Over the past couple, I basically bought myself the Mando and the Child set, for Christmas. I actually bought it for somebody else, but somebody else got it for them, so I kept it and got them something else for Christmas. And so, like, over the past couple of days at work, it was kind of slow, so I started doing it, and I built it, and then I had a Snorlax and Munchlax sitting in my house that I've had for, like, a year and a half or more, that I got that and started building that. And now I'm just like, I kind of want to build more, but at the same time, like, they make my fingers hurt, and sometimes give me kind of anxiety because I don't really have the motor skills in the fingers to do the small pieces. But, yeah, like, I just, it brought me a little bit back to childhood, and it was fun and calming to do for the most part. The worst parts were when I dropped a piece and couldn't find it.
Oh, that's especially if it's like the little ones.
Some of these pieces were just so small, and so it would be like a 2x2, or not even a 2x2. It would be a 2x1 to be put into a 2x1, which is, in my opinion, kind of hard to do, because I don't really have the motor skills, and I'm not that like really good at Lego because I haven't done Lego since I was 10. And like I would like go to push it in and it wouldn't clip in right, or I'd slide one away and then I wouldn't be able to find the 2x1 again. And it's just like it is a pain in the butt. Like what were the pieces I dropped? They were mostly Snorlax pieces, and all of the boxes that I got came with extra pieces, and none of the extra pieces were the pieces that I dropped. So I had to find them to finish them.
Of course.
Yeah. That's usually how that goes.
Yeah, but it was just like one 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 of them was on Mando, and I built him, and like I dropped the one piece, but I had a spare, and so I finished building it, and I got to the other part, which is basically the other side. I started building that, and I realized I had to find that piece that dropped, and it took me 10 minutes to find it. I eventually did find it, luckily, and I was able to finish it. And it's just like, I want more Lego, but I don't want like the big sets. I want like the smaller things, like these ones that I have, like the blockheads or whatever they're called.
The big ones are a lot of fun. They are very expensive though.
Yeah.
I've got 5 of them up here. I've got like the new era X-wing, the black and orange one.
Yeah.
I've got a Y-wing, a new era red and black TIE fighter, TIE Interceptor, and an AT-AT.
Yeah.
And a Millennium Falcon. Not
Yeah.
the big Millennium Falcon, 1,500 piece Millennium Falcon.
Yeah.
Which is still super cool. Like the whole top opens up on it, so you can like see like the different sections, the inside of the ship. Like it's even got the little table where they play that hologram monster game.
Yeah. Yeah. The hologram chess, basically.
Yeah. But yeah, like the X-wing in particular, it actually was missing a piece.
Oh, that sucked.
Yeah, and so the big sets, since you said you haven't had them in a long time, they do a really good job of separating stuff. So, like, the bigger the set, the more bags of pieces are in there, and every bag is, like, numbered.
Yeah.
And the instructions walk you through it bag by bag. So it literally, like, starts out, it's like, all right, open up bag 1. You're going to put together this section of whatever this thing is with just these pieces. And then you move on to bag 2 and, like, connect them from there.
I like that, because both the Mando and the Child and the Snorlax and Munchlax had the bags, and each of the bags were numbered, but they weren't separated by part, but like what you're building. Like the Snorlax and Munchlax were worse because they actually weren't numbered, and there was Munchlax pieces mixed in with Snorlax pieces, and you had to open like 3 out of the 6 bags in order to build the Munchlax, which is an eighth the size of the Snorlax.
Now, were those actual Lego?
No, those were something else.
Because I was going to say, they didn't look like Lego the way that the Mando and the Child did.
No,
that's probably why they weren't as separated.
Yeah.
But yeah, like it makes it easier to put them together because like the instructions are very detailed. It shows you, like, it tells you what bag to work with. And so like the Millennium Falcon, like I put that together over like 3 days.
Yeah.
So like I'd work on it for like a couple hours, and I do like a couple bags, and I'm like, all right, I'm good for now. I'll put like something in here so that I know what bag I left off on, and then I'll just pick up the next day. And like as you're building, it's just like, all right, now add this piece, now add that, like add what you made in the last section to this one.
Yeah.
And like you get to slowly watch as like you're putting these things together, and you're like, what the fuck is this like thing that I'm building? And all of a sudden it's like, oh, this is like a wing, or this is like the base to it.
Yeah.
I almost got the Razor Crest for Christmas, the Mando ship, but it's sold out everywhere. It's usually $130. It's sold out, and the price jumped over $300 from resellers. I'm not surprised.
Yeah, because resellers suck.
Yeah, so like, had it not sold out, Erica was going to get it for me, but it sold out, and it's spending that much money on something like marked up like that is not worth it. So I'm probably going to grab it like after they come back in stock. Like
the Mando and the Child, that was supposed to be like $30, and I bought it for $40 because I bought it off Amazon. So like,
that's not that big of a markup. Yeah, that's like not compared to going from 130 to almost 400.
Exactly.
Yeah, no,
exactly.
Yeah.
But who's next? Drew, you're next.
Yeah, Drew. What's your first real one?
Doom Eternal.
Nice. Have you finished it?
Oh yeah, I beat it.
Okay, well, I couldn't remember if you'd had it.
Yep. Yeah. It's really good. Like
it's funny. So Doom Eternal came out in March. It came out the same time as Animal Crossing. But like you literally like you finished your year with it.
Yeah, because it went on sale, and I was like, you know what? Let me finally actually pick this up, and hammered through it. And I mean, there was like a month where I didn't play it in there in between. Maybe not quite that long, but yeah, I played it this month, and it was really good. It's a good Doom game.
I mean, like it made that 2016 one was real good. So I know this one didn't quite get the fanfare that one did. But, like, I didn't hear anyone say bad things about it. It was just like, yeah, it was Doom. It was still good.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And, like, more of that is definitely not a bad thing.
Yeah, and it's definitely more of that.
So my first one is Final Fantasy VII Remake.
God damn it, Cobb.
Look, it's bound to happen.
I mean, that's probably on all of our lists.
And
it's on mine. So.
I imagine there's at least one other one that is probably on both Drew and mine.
Yeah, that's on my list as well. Like it was such a great game.
Man, you don't get to talk about it yet. It's my turn.
I'm just agreeing with you.
No, but yeah, they did a really good job. I was skeptical going in. Like I didn't know what to expect from. And it ended up being something really good. They changed some of the story and stuff, and I'm not gonna say they made it better, but they changed it in a way that didn't damage what came before. It honestly made you think, like, okay, well, if this is different, what else is gonna
yeah.
I don't know now. I don't know what the rest of this game is going to bring, and that makes it that's exciting.
Yeah,
you know,
exactly.
It's a 20-plus-year-old game. Like I've played it enough times that I kind of know it by heart. That like having little bits and pieces change and having characters evolve in different ways, it's exciting, and I'm excited to see where the next 30 chapters of it go.
Yeah, absolutely.
Do you guys want to say anything about it? It sounds like you both had that also.
I mean, you've basically said it all. It's just like it was that fantastic of a game. Like it was enjoyable. It was one of the first games in a long time that I played through immediately after beating. Like I never actually finished that second playthrough, but I was more than halfway through.
I forgot you were going for the platinum there for a while.
I was going for the platinum. I was going for the hard mode completion. I wanted to see like everything else I added, and in my opinion, I really liked hard mode a lot better than than normal mode. Like both were great, but I really liked everything that goes on with hard mode and how like the actual like strategy of the game changes.
It's funny. Just my one monitor, the background just changed to Cloud and Sephiroth standing in like, the streets.
Nice, yeah. But it's just it was so good.
And like they managed to make the characters feel familiar, but also different. And like they made characters that didn't exist before compelling, and they made characters like Biggs, Wedge, and Jesse actual characters instead of just sort of this afterthought.
Yeah.
Like I was actually upset when the three of them seemed to perish on the tower.
Yeah, exactly.
And you know that combat was way better than I thought it would be.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
It definitely like when you hear people say like what it was supposed to be like, it didn't sound like it was going to be good. It sounded like it was just going to be more of sort of the meh combat from 15. And no, like there was actually some depth to it.
And that kind of gets me excited for 16.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And like I said, for the next 30 chapters of this one.
Yeah, exactly.
But Rich, what is your next one?
I mean, I guess I have to figure out a different one, a new one to go in place.
You said you wrote down 5.
I did write down 5, but I have to replace one of my 5 now because you took it.
No, you don't.
You just talked about it.
No, I'm gonna go with HBO Max.
That's a weird pick, but okay.
I mean,
I agree.
It brought back Top Gear to me. It brought back the Big Bang Theory. It brought back my love of Godzilla. I have access to all the Ghibli movies. I have access to Titans. Like, it came out in April of this year, and honestly, I have thought about getting rid of Netflix because I have this and Hulu and Disney Plus. I don't need Netflix anymore. I don't really watch any. I watch HBO Max more than I do Netflix now.
And then all the shows that you do watch on Netflix will all come back for.
I mean, it's the only things I watch on Netflix. Like, now it's Cobra Kai, but like it's Cobra Kai, Umbrella Academy, and Stranger Things.
Didn't you watch Lock and Key?
I did watch Lock and Key, yes, but was that it was a good show, but it was forgettable. Like,
yeah.
And I know you didn't care for the second season of Hill House, but there's also Witcher.
Yeah, but like I also was like iffy on Witcher at first, but then got into it. But I get like it's forgettable. Like I'm not like I want, but like I have no problem getting like if these shows come out once a month every month, then yeah, I'll keep Netflix. But I thought about getting rid of it because all the shows that I did have Netflix for the Marvel stuff, for The Office and Parks and Rec and all that shit, like it's not there anymore.
You know, you should just like for your own sanity, check check with T-Mobile and see if you're eligible for them to pay for your Netflix.
I don't think I am, because my plan is so old and grandfathered in, and I pay so little compared to everyone that, like, that's one reason why I haven't changed my phone plan at all. So my base plan is about $80 a month.
Yeah, and it wasn't like a change to my plan or anything like that. It's literally just a promotion they have for customers.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, I mean, it can't hurt to ask them. Like, they're either going to say, "Oh yeah, we can add that to your account," or not.
I mean, yeah, I could double check, but it's just like HBO Max has brought back a lot of stuff that I really like, and gives me, like, there's a bunch of series on there that I have not watched yet that I want to. Like, it is by far my, it's weird to say because it was just an upgrade from HBO Now, my favorite purchase or subscription this year was getting HBO Max. Like,
yeah, I mean, it is actually really good. I kind of wish I used it more than I do.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
Because, like, there's a bunch of stuff on there that I want to watch, and it's just I never think to watch it. Like, the second season of His Dark Materials came out. There was that show, Lovecraft Country, that was apparently really good from earlier in the fall.
That Ridley Scott show, something Wolves or whatever.
Yeah, and like all the DC Universe stuff that came out, like Titans and Doom Patrol. Like you said, all the Ghibli movies. Like there are Ghibli movies I haven't seen.
Yeah, we have a weekly segment on this show right now because of HBO Max.
That's true.
Like, that
is true.
It's just it is. I love the streaming service. It is my favorite streaming service.
And honestly, like the couple of things that we have really watched on there have, like, that's where we watched Veep. Like, I wouldn't have seen that if it weren't for HBO Max, because I never subscribed to HBO long enough to actually watch a show.
Exactly. No, but yeah, so that's on my top 5 things. It didn't suck. HBO Max did not suck.
That's true. Drew, what's your next one?
Fall Guys. That game does not suck.
I think it's funny that Fall Guys made your list, but Among Us only got an honorable mention.
Well, Fall Guys came out this year.
That's fair. That's fair.
I played more Fall Guys than I did Among Us.
Yeah, I've played more Fall Guys than I did Among Us. I barely played both of them, so I get that.
I had 7 things just that I was able to think of that I enjoyed this year, and to only have the top 5, I was like, let me take the 2 things that didn't release 20 and make them just honorable mentions. But yeah, I mean, Fall Guys and Among Us, both great.
Yeah. Fall Guys is great. I haven't gone back to it since it first came out.
Me either. I know they've done like new season stuff and new skin. I should get back to that.
I hear the community, at least on Steam, might be dying. I'm not sure though.
That wouldn't surprise me.
But like it is. I as long as it doesn't take too long to join a match and you still get almost a full game, which is usually how it was anyway, it'd probably still be worth playing. And it's fun and it's just a nice.
They're adding private lobbies to it seems, because I know like a bunch of like content creators like on Twitch and YouTube and stuff have been doing like big streams with like a bunch of other people in private lobbies for that.
Yeah, I think if you party up, like at least on the PlayStation, I don't know about PC, unless it's like a mod somebody did. But if you party up, you can play with your party. So if you can get a 20-person party,
it's 100 people.
If you can get a 100-person party, which I don't think any of them acknowledge 100 people party.
I don't think so either. But that's why like it's actually like a private lobby that like they can set up and invite people to.
Yeah,
which is actually pretty cool.
Yeah, it's cool and might reinvigorate the game a little bit.
I mean, 12,000 more people are playing Fall Guys on Steam than are playing Avengers on.
Yeah.
Well,
but like, what was that number when it first came out? Like, that's when I said the community's dropped. I didn't say it's down to terrible numbers, but it's not as big as it used to be.
Yeah. I mean, it looks like the peak was like 124,000 on average.
Yeah,
that's insane.
But it's still at 12,000. There are 12,623 people playing it on Steam right now.
At 20 of 9 on it.
Yeah. There's barely 700 people playing it.
Yeah.
So
I mean, I haven't
there's
played
still
Avengers
a pretty
in close
big
to 2
community
weeks,
on Fall Guys on Steam. So, but yeah, that game, it's real fun.
Yeah.
Yeah. It is not my type of game, but I did have fun with it the little bit I played. I managed to get a crown, so that was fun.
Hey, there you go.
I friggin' Eric, I think he posted for the first time ever on Facebook or Twitter just to hate on something. He played it.
Of course.
And he played it, and like I remember his tweet or his post, it was, played Fall Guys, first match, won, got got the crown, no problem. Second match, a player grabbed me and threw me off the edge. I deleted the game. Just because one person ruined his game for him, his second match. I'm like,
That's how that game works.
Like, you're playing against people. Of course people are going to try to... But it was probably on, like, the obstacle course where, like, people just stand at the back and wait for you to leave. Or wait for you to get there so they can grab you and throw you off the edge so that you don't win. Which is, like, I don't like that whole part of that part of it with the obstacle courses, but, like, you know what? Just go around them. Like,
yeah.
They don't move that fast and the grab isn't that strong. Like, you can break out of the grab quite easily. Mm-hmm. Just move away. Or, like, I always thought people waited at the edge because they wanted to be the last one in so that they could, so it was a trophy or something. I did that once. It wasn't a trophy. I never did it again.
That's fair. Yeah, the only thing in that game that I really disliked were the forced team ones.
Yeah, those were not always great.
Yeah. Like, I never had a good experience. Like those games generally weren't fun, and having like a forced team up where like everyone is still just running for themselves wasn't a fun way to play that.
Yeah, like the ball games, like the soccer or like running the ball on the obstacle courses, like the ones where it's like it's either one of like 4 colors and you just have to grab and have the most tails. That's different. Like those ones were fun, but it's the ones where you have to work as a team that suck.
Yeah. Oh shit, where am I? Next up on mine, Tony Hawk Pro Skater 1+2.
That one is also on my list.
That was the other one that I said would probably be on yours. It was just nice to play Tony Hawk again and have it actually feel like what I remembered, even though it definitely isn't exactly what I remember. If that makes sense. Mm-hmm. It's like playing the newer versions of like the original Super Mario Bros. It doesn't play the way those games originally played, but it plays how I think they used to play.
I mean, it plays like the later Tony Hawk games played, but
the better later original Tony Hawk games.
Yeah. The Tony Hawk Pro Skater 4 plays, let's say.
Yeah.
But on the Tony Hawk 1 and 2 maps, which like are like, oh yeah, no, this is totally what I remember.
Yeah, because like it definitely had like the later game physics where like in the original Tony Hawk, you could not pull off a 900 until like the end of the game, basically. Like you just you never had enough air to do that. Whereas in this one, like you could pull them off basically right out of the get go.
Yeah.
But yeah, like being able to play those original 2 game levels and have like the reverts and the manuals and stuff like that to just chain things together the way that you couldn't. It was just it was really cool. Like being able to hit high scores while also getting like all the letters and like some of the other challenges in a given level. It was just like cool. I couldn't have done this before because I would have had to focus on just like collecting these letters and not doing tricks. But now I can just manual from letter to letter and everything's okay.
Yeah.
And even the multiplayer, like it wasn't the best. Like I didn't really like the randomized playlist thing, but like it was fun to get in there and like try to get the high score or try to graffiti everything.
Yeah, I didn't dive into much of the multiplayer. I did start like going through and looking at the high scores for everyone on my friends list and trying to. It was mostly Vogel who had
played a lot of
that were higher than me.
I talked to him a little bit like when the game first came out, and he was playing a lot of multiplayer, and I believe he was doing a lot of the challenges too.
Yeah.
Whereas like I wasn't. I played a lot of just the single player because that's really what I wanted out of it. And I got really unlucky with the levels, like the random selection in multiplayer. Like
gotcha.
I got like San Francisco a lot and Downhill Jam.
Okay, Downhill Jam. The worst.
Like neither of those levels are just very good for like trick attack stuff. Really.
Yeah.
Because like San Francisco is not the worst. It's just a little too open. Like there's not like a real good section to be able to just like bounce around and like hit ramps and then also hit manuals and stuff like that and grinds. It's good if you're just trying to do like grinds and manuals though.
Yeah. But yeah, me and Vogel both have like multiple levels where we have over 1 million point high scores now.
Nice.
So yeah, Tony Hawk. It's real good.
Yeah, I think it was him I was talking to about it, telling him like because he was having trouble with something, and I think I told him how to do something, and he's like, "Oh shit, I didn't know you could do." But that might not have been him too.
It might have been.
Yeah, I'm not sure. It was long enough ago now that I just don't remember.
Yeah.
Rich, what is your next one?
So my next one is you know what? Let's go with this one. Critical Role. just everything that happened with Critical Role this year. Let's see. They've been their own company for a long time, but with their announcement of their new charity foundation, all the merch that they have, and just the show itself, like it. Even though most of their hiatus during the virus was while I was also unemployed, it really got me through unemployment and through a lot of this year. But was being able to watch and look forward to that show, and like how good it has. And it's also just gotten really good over this past couple of months. And like even all the side stuff that they released, like they have what is it? Like they basically play the telephone game, but they do a whole story. Narrative telephone is what they call it. They do a whole story. So somebody makes up a story, tells it to someone, and then they go down the line, and you have to try to retell the story from the person before you. Like they started doing that during quarantine because they needed to produce content to keep their subscribers, but also like wanted to do stuff for their fans, I guess. And so that like really like that was something that I looked forward to every Saturday morning when that was coming out. And it's just like their content in general. Like I bought one figure. I'm set up on the mailing list to buy 2 more that should be coming out some point next year. Like I overall just really love the show and love the content they produce. And this year, like it was a hard year for everyone that like they really helped pull through.
That's good.
Yeah.
Drew, what is your next one?
Well, I mean, I've only got one thing left on my list. I don't know. So.
If you could just come, I've come up with one more because Cobb took one of mine. So if you could come up with just 2 more after this one, we can go back to you.
I mean, probably not, but let's go over to Cobb for another thing off his list.
I have The Last of Us Part 2.
Okay.
Yeah.
Like it was definitely divisive when it came out. And I know like Rich, you and I kind of like agree and disagree on like some of the points of the game, but I think the fact that they were able to have this character with Abby, start the game and like have the player just hate her. Like as much as you can possibly hate a fictional character, you are meant to hate her. And then by the end of the game, you're like, no, she's not bad.
Yeah.
Like, yes, what she did was awful, but like she's just trying to survive too.
Yeah. And like I agree. Like me and you, we disagree on the ending. That's really all we disagree on. I don't like how they did the ending. I wasn't a big fan of the ending at all. Everything else about the game I thought was amazing, and I acknowledge that it's a really good game. And yeah, they did wonders with that.
Yeah. Like I hope they don't do a third one. Like I think those characters should be left at this point, but I do think like what they did with those characters was really good. And like, I mean, they took a character that you hated at the beginning and turned it into a character that you love. And they kind of almost did the opposite with Ellie, because like I didn't hate her at the end, but by the end of the game, it's just like, what the fuck are you doing? Like, why? Yeah. Like what the fuck? Like, I get it. The beginning of the game made sense. Like, I get why you were doing that, but by the end, it's just like you've lost enough. Just fucking call it.
Yeah,
like, you've ruined her life at this point. Like, just go home. Like, live with your family.
Yeah, definitely. I totally agree with you.
What is your next one, Rich?
My next one is the Arrow finale / Crisis on Infinite Earths.
Shit, right. I mean, the later half of that was in 2020.
Yeah. The Arrow finale and the second of the two, or the last. Was it just the last one, or was it two parts?
It was 2 parts.
Yeah, the last 2 parts of Crisis were both in January, and it was just like Crisis was really good, and I looked forward to it going into this 2019 season, and just like I was so excited about it. I loved it. I hated the 2-month wait, but I understood it after they did it, and
it was only a month.
It was only a month, yeah, but like just the whole like bringing everything together and all the cameos and everything of Crisis on Infinite Earths was great, and then the finale of it was so much better, and how they joined all the not all, it was just one other. They joined the 2 primary universes together, which is kind of unfortunate because one of them are ending this upcoming season. But like it's just. But
so it's ending, but they're they're launching the Superman show.
Yeah, they have it like a spin-off show coming off with it. It was so good, and that Arrow finale was amazing. Like I could have done without the pilot for the Canaries show, but besides that, like it was so good. And
see, I liked that backdoor pilot. It's a shame that show definitely isn't happening now.
Yeah,
but
I mean, it was fine. I'm just saying, like, it kind of like it was a little out of place for me for the finale. Like, it would have been better if they did it like as like a special and not as an actual episode. But like, I just it was like both of them were just really good. The finale was amazing. The Crisis on Infinite Earths was so good. I know the Arrow finale wasn't part of Crisis on Infinite Earths, but like what the finale stemmed from Crisis, so like I kind of had to combine them together.
And it was a very like emotional finale too.
It was super emotional. Like I didn't watch Arrow as like I hadn't been a fan since the beginning. I started like I think after Flash started, I watched Flash first and then went and watched Arrow from beginning to then. So I think like third season. So but it was still like 5-6 years in the making that I was watching the series. And it was so good and so emotional.
Yeah. No, I can agree with that. Drew, do you want to skip one more since you just have one more left?
I mean, how many more do each of you have? You have 2?
Yeah, I have 2.
I came up with a fifth, so I have one more. So like I can do one more.
Okay, then we'll skip me again, go to Cobb, and then we all have one last one.
Okay. So my next one is the season 2 of The Mandalorian. I really liked the first season last year. But like something about this season just kind of clicked Star Wars again in a weird.
I understand that.
Yeah, like it kind of like reignited like an actual like love in like that use again in a way that like the first season like did like as much as I enjoyed the first season, it didn't have that same impact. Whereas like by the time this one's over, I'm like, man, like that's such a cool universe. It's a shame that like we lost all of the old canon and that they just really haven't built up the new stuff. But like between the comics and that show and like all the spin-offs that are going to be coming, like I'm just excited for Star Wars after this season. Which like I didn't hate the sequel trilogy, but like I would not rank The Last Jedi or Rise of Skywalker like high on like a list ranking. Yeah. So like
I don't think most people would.
Yeah, like having this show come out and be like as good as it has been, it's like okay, cool. Like Star Wars can still be.
Yeah.
So what's your last one, Rich?
So my last one is I finally played Resident Evil 3, but it was the remake, but it came out this year, and I finally played Resident Evil 3, the only Resident Evil game I'd never... And it was, like, it was definitely short, and it wasn't as good as the Resident Evil 2 remake, but it was still good, and it was still, like, intense, and like I love the Resident Evil series, and I was like, excited to be able to play it. This spot was originally taken by Final Fantasy VII, but somebody took that one from me. So it's now taken by Resident
Evil. Drew, did you watch Dan Mahardy and Mary do their Games of the Year?
Not yet.
I mean, it's long, so...
It's like almost 8 hours on YouTube, so...
But at one point, that they're I think the category is like best... They have some real dumb categories.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And most of the categories have parentheses in them for whether it's a good category or a bad category.
Okay.
Because the title of the category doesn't always make that evident.
Okay.
But they have a best remake category, and Resident Evil 3 was in there. And at one point, Mike's just like, yeah, no, it's a bad game. Like, just flat out, he's like, I don't like it. It's a bad game. And like the other two are just like, all right, that's fine.
I don't see how it was a bad game. Like,
so this guy, he's a very big Resident Evil fan.
Okay.
Him and the other person on there, while they both worked for GameSpot, did a series where they played through every Resident, like the originals and the remakes, and they actually continued them after they both left GameSpot.
Yeah.
But he apparently just never liked Resident Evil 3, the original or the remake. So I just thought it was funny, like how like just definitive. He's just like, no, that's a bad game.
That's nuts. It's kind of ridiculous.
But yeah, I mean, I've never played Resident Evil 3. Like, I know it is apparently not as good as the second one, or
it's not. Like, I would still rank Resident Evil 4 as the top Resident Evil game. Like, and Resident Evil 3 would probably be somewhere in the middle, with Resident Evil 6 being the bottom, if not really close to the bottom. And I'm just talking about the core numbered ones. I'm not talking about like Raccoon City Chronicles and shit like that. And yeah, like it's middle of the road. It's not as good as Resident Evil 2 remake. It's not as good as Resident Evil 4 original, but it was good. It was fun. It still kept with that kind of, like, even though it was highly scripted and not as good as Mr. X and Resident Evil 2, it still had that Nemesis feature to it and everything like that. I've wanted to get back to playing it. I haven't gotten around to it. I missed a lot of stuff on my first playthrough.
And at least that one, like, that is still a survival horror game, whereas like, 5 and 6 really got away from that.
Yeah.
Like, 4 started the trend, to 5 and 6 just went all the way.
It was more so 6 than 5. Like, 5 was still a little bit more survival horror-y than
Not
6.
much. I played 5.
Yeah,
5 was way more of an action.
It
Absolutely. 5's an action game.
It was...
yeah.
It was an action game, but it still had more of that survival horror aspect than 6. And 6 was just a broken game, or not broken, but a broken story that was just interesting concept, horrible execution.
That's fair. So Drew, what is your last one?
Hades.
It's
so fucking
yeah,
good.
No, that makes sense. That tracks.
Yeah.
I mean, it's the best game that came out this year.
I disagree.
Well, you're wrong. It's fucking amazing.
According to the Game Awards, it's not.
Well, they're wrong.
I have yet to play it, and I'm generally a fan of the roguelike type games like that. That is a bold statement, though. It is a bold statement to say that it's the best game. I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm just saying it is a bold statement.
I'm also not alone in that statement. Yeah. Multiple outlets have given Hades their game of the year, so...
GameSpot gave it to Half-Life Alyx.
Well, they're really wrong.
Did they really
we
give
can
it
all
to
agree
Half-Life Alyx?
That's not the best game that came out this year.
I don't know. I don't have a VR that can do it.
Can we agree? Like, we haven't played that. We can agree on that.
No, I think we can all agree that that's not the best game.
I don't know. It's the first new Half-Life in 20 years or something like that.
Yeah, I mean,
fine. What?
If I had a PC and a VR strong enough to play it, I'd play it and let you know. But I don't have either of those.
Yeah, that's pretty much true. Also, Rich, if you like roguelikes, I recommend going on to Steam and trying Rogue.
Yeah, you could try Rogue.
Rogue?
ROGE. I'm sorry, ROGUE.
Yes.
I think
Rogue.
I heard about that game forever ago. Like it was.
That's because it's from 1980, so it's been out for a long time.
I mean, it is the original thing that all the games that are called roguelikes are, loosely based on.
It is why those games are called roguelikes.
Okay.
It's all ASCII. Like,
oh boy.
Everything is just letters and symbols off of your keyboard. It's great. Every enemy is there are 26 enemies from letters A to Z. Mm-hmm. So like every letter in the alphabet just corresponds to like an enemy name. So like B is bats. So if you see a B on the screen, it's a bat coming at you.
E are emus because emus?
I think Y is Yeti.
Yeah, Y was Yeti, O was orc.
Yeah, your player character is just an at symbol, and it's not.
Wait,
it's
is
not
it
like,
an at symbol? Isn't it a smiley face?
Oh, I thought it was an at symbol. It was a little small on my screen when I was watching it, so
I'm pretty sure it's a little face.
I thought it was an at symbol, but anyway, like it's a true dungeon crawler for.
Mm-hmm. It's $2.99. I'm not getting that. I'll wait for it to be on sale.
I mean,
it's worth $3.
All right. Honestly, if you don't want to pay for it, you could go on the Internet Archive and play it.
Exactly. Like there's no point.
It is a 90-hour game.
I mean, it's recent reviews. 15 recent reviews are very positive. All 204 reviews from its release on. Well, actually, its release date is listed as June 1st, 1985. 204 reviews are all very positive.
Yeah, I mean, so Giant Bomb just started doing a series where one guy's trying to beat Rogue within 13 runs, so that's why Cobb especially mentioned it.
He's 2 runs in, and he has done worse each run.
How did he do worse than the first one?
It only lasted 4 minutes. I haven't watched it yet. Like, it's a 4-minute video.
Oh, wait, so I swore the one I saw that went up today was like 39 minutes. I don't know.
I'm pretty sure it's not. So the first one was like an hour, but that was him just messing around, and that episode had his best run in it. And then the first real run was 10 minutes, but the last like 3 minutes weren't really anything. And then the one from today was, I'm pretty sure it said 4 minutes when I looked at the video link.
Maybe.
Yep, 4 minutes and 23 seconds.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, he somehow did worse.
Jeez. Well, because it completely randomly generated.
That's true. That is true.
if you like roguelikes, Hades is the best roguelike I've ever played. It's better than Rogue Legacy. It's better
than Dead Cells.
Better than Dead Cells. Dead Cells is also really fucking good, but like there is no story to speak of really in Dead, and there's a lot of story in Hades, and Hades also isn't as random as Dead Cells, which makes it a little less aggravating. Like, you pick the weapon you get in Dead Cell or in Hades, and like that's your weapon for the run. Unlike Dead Cells, where it's random drops and you just might not get good shit on a run.
Yeah.
And you feel more screwed by the random generation of the weapons than the actual gameplay.
That makes sense. And everything I've heard about Hades, it does sound awesome, and it's just I'm not going, like, I want to play it, but I know I'm not going to play it for more than 30 minutes at most, and I just don't want to spend $20 to $30.
I mean, I'm like, I just did my 101st run in the game.
Yeah, like
earlier today.
That whole, like, the roguelike thing is just not for me. Like, I'm not very good at them, and I don't like doing, like, the same thing over and over without having, like, noticeable, like, progression.
I mean, there are a lot of things you are progressing throughout that game.
But,
that
like, you're still starting over at the beginning every time, right?
Yes, but you're evolving a lot of stuff between your character. There's a mirror full of, like, passive buffs that you're upgrading with stuff you unlock from a run. You are making upgrades around the house as you go. You are unlocking extra equipable items that also gain buffs as you go along. Like those will increase in strength as you wear them and things like that. Like, there is meaningful progress being made basically on every single run, regardless of if you die in the second zone or like at the first boss or whatever.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, like I said, it's one of those games where, like, if it's ever on like a $15 under sale, I'll probably consider it more.
Mm-hmm.
But like, I'm not the demographic for it. I'm not going to put time into it. Spending $20 is worth it. But it still looks like a very cool game.
It is. It definitely.
So my final one is Cyberpunk 2077. No.
Nice.
No.
Nice.
No. No, really. It's Yakuza Like a Dragon.
Okay.
I like that game.
That's better. That's better.
Yeah, I like that game a whole lot. I've talked about it a bunch of times, so I'm not gonna like deep dive. But it's just the characters are super charming. Like, it's wacky and serious and just all over the fucking place the way that those games are supposed to be. And just that world is just great. And I hope they just continue making stupid fucking games like that with those characters.
Yeah, makes sense.
Yeah.
And I guess that is it. That is our 5 things that didn't suck from this year.
Yeah, because a lot of the world fucking did.
Yeah, it did. 2020 was a bad time. But you know what? Like, really, like, at least, like, for us, like, we were all able to work from home, for the most part. Like, I know, like you, Drew, like, you didn't really get, like, full work from home until fairly late in the year. But, like, you got a new job. So, like...
Yeah. No. There were definite personal, not dumpster fire things for me.
None of us caught anything. Like, you know, like, it's been a weird year and a shitty year, and we haven't really been able to see people or friends or family or any of that stuff, or, you know, do what we would normally do in a given year. At least none of us are in, or our families, as far as I've heard from you guys, are in any sort of bad way.
Yeah, yeah. We've all gotten pretty lucky this year, and, like, 2020 sucked as a whole, but we've gotten through it as best as we could, and we're not, like, in horrible positions like many people.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. So yeah, hopefully everybody out there listening to this on the day it releases, January 31st, has a fun and happy New Year Eve, and has a good New Year in 2021, and we'll be back. We'll be back next year. I can make that stupid fucking joke.
See you next year.
Yeah, we'll be back on the 9th, I believe. I think Wednesday is the 9th. No, that's wrong. That's all the way wrong.
We'll be back on the 7th. Like, our new episode will release on the 7th.
Yeah, but we'll be recording on the 6th.
Yeah.
For some reason, I thought Monday was the 7th, and that's just not right. That's not right at all.
No, you're
not at all.
You're going ahead a little too much.
I'm trying to get 2021 started quick so that we can see if it's a shit show again or not.
Yeah. Because remember when all we had to worry about was a fire in almost World War III?
Don't forget murder hornets.
Well, I mean, that was...
They came later.
That came way later, but like the biggest thing was Australia was on fire, and there was almost World War III. And then a pandemic happened.
Yep, pretty much. Anyway, if you guys would like to find more of our content, you can head over to www.one-quest.com. You can also help us out by supporting us at patreon.com/onequest. If you can't support us there with your dollars, though, you can use your favorite podcast platform like Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Stitcher, Amazon Music. Subscribe to us, rate us, review us. All those things help a whole bunch. You can find us on social media, facebook.com/onequestonline or at @1_quest on Instagram and Twitter. Our YouTube channel is youtube.com/onequestvideo. And you can always send us emails to social@one-quest.com. Otherwise, we'll be back next week with something else to talk about. Thanks for listening. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.